Chapter 922. A sword. Yi Xian seethed with excitement when he saw the stellar sword. This sword was very powerful, because it contained extremely pure star power. If he could absorb it, then it would simply be a great tonic to him. Yi Xian didn't hesitate to charge forward. At this moment, he'd raised his speed to its limits. Yuanxing seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. This isn't good. He can devour swords. Quickly withdraw the formation. Withdraw the formation. At this moment, the four white-robed old men behind Yuanxing suddenly recovered from their shock. Yi Xian can devour swords. The four were about to leave the formation. However, at this moment, Yi Xian had already dashed up to the star sword. The sword also fell straight down and then pierced into his head. Bang! A powerful aura suddenly erupted from within Yi Xian, and the starry sky in the surroundings started seething as soon as this aura appeared. Yuanxing's expression became extremely unsightly when he witnessed this scene. What sort of freak is this? A sword devourer? I've never encountered such a situation. Most importantly, the stellar sword was condensed from a formation, and it was extremely formidable. Yet Yi Xian can devour it as well? Zhang Wenxiu had a slightly strange expression on her face as well. Even she was slightly fearful of the formidable energy contained within the sword. However, Yi Xian had actually directly devoured it. What a freak! Zhang Wenxiu shook her head. Needless to say, Yi Xian was very mysterious. After Yi Xian devoured the sword, a powerful strand of energy erupted from within him, and he felt like his body was on the verge of exploding. The energy contained within the sword was too terrifying. Yi Xian hurriedly gazed at Zhang Wenxiu. Help me. As soon as he finished speaking, he entered the academy, sat down cross-legged, and started devouring the energy like a madman. He had to absorb the energy or he would explode. Suddenly, Yuanxing said, "Don't let him absorb the energy." After saying that, he directly rushed towards Yi Xian below. Next to Yi Xian, Zhang Wenxiu was expressionless. The spear in her hand suddenly turned into a bolt of lightning and flew out. Boom! Yuanxing was pushed back by Zhang Wenxiu's spear, and at this moment, the four old men behind Yuanxing suddenly appeared above Zhang Wenxiu's head. Zhang Wenxiu frowned. It's you four old farts again. She knew that these four people were array masters of the Devouring Spirit clan. They were the ones who arranged and operated the various array masters of the Devouring Spirit clan. The four white-robed old men ignored Zhang Wenxiu. They formed a series of hand seals and quickly chanted. Soon, blood-red chains appeared around Zhang Wenxiu. These chains were like a cage that locked the space around Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu's expression turned sinister as he swept his spear horizontally. Boom! A bolt of lightning suddenly erupted in the space around her, and the blood-red chains trembled. However, these blood-red chains weren't destroyed by her spear. Zhang Wenxiu's mouth curled into a sinister smile. She suddenly rushed forward and stabbed with her spear. Boom! The space in front of her exploded, but the blood-red chains didn't disappear. They locked the space around her. I'm trapped. Zhang Wenxiu's expression was gloomy. She waved her spear again. This time, she didn't hold back. As soon as the spear was swung, countless tiny cracks appeared on the blood-red chains. At this moment, one of the white-robed old men suddenly looked at Yuanxing who was nearby. Kill Yi Xian first. Kill Yi Xian. Yuanxing and the man with the zither charged directly at Yi Xian. This chapter is not over, please continue to the next page. The experts of the Myriad Dimension Academy charged out successively as well. Amongst them, Lin Xiaoshu directly stood in front of the man with the zither. He flipped open an ancient book and muttered a few words, and then a formidable force suddenly swept out from the ancient book. The man with the zither didn't dare to be careless. He quickly took out his zither and began to play with it. Rumble. A series of explosions rang out in the sky. Yuanxing charged towards Yi Xian. At this moment, no one in the Worldwide Academy could stop him. Just as he was about 5 feet away from Yi Xian, a Xiao Ta suddenly flew out from between Yi Xian's eyebrows. The Xiao Ta charged directly towards Yuan Sheng. Yuan Sheng's expression changed and he raised his arm to block it. Boom! Yuan Sheng was instantly pushed back. When Yuan Sheng stopped, he frowned. This Xiao Ta's power had exceeded his expectations. In the sky, the Xiao Ta trembled. Yuan Sheng looked at the Xiao Ta with a trace of seriousness in his eyes. At this moment, an old man in a white robe suddenly roared, "Don't waste time. We can't trap her for long." Yuan Sheng withdrew his thoughts and looked up into the sky. Restrain the pagoda. As soon as he finished speaking, an old man in linen suddenly appeared in the sky. The old man suddenly slammed his fist towards the World Prison Pagoda. The World Prison Pagoda didn't dodge. Instead, it collided directly with the old man. At this moment, Yuan Sheng stomped his right foot and transformed into a black ray of light that charged towards Yi Xian. "I'll kill Yi Xian first." In the distance, Yi Xian suddenly opened his eyes. A moment later, he drew the executing heaven sword and slashed forward. Boom! This slash caused the space in front of him to explode, and Yuan Sheng instantly retreated hundreds of feet away. Yi Xian's right hand gripped the executing heaven sword tightly. Around him, a powerful aura constantly vibrated in all directions. Everywhere this aura passed, the space fluctuated violently like boiling water. Yuan Sheng looked at Yi Xian and narrowed his eyes. "How did you suddenly become so strong?" Yi Xian took a deep breath. At this moment, he felt that his body was filled with endless power. He knew that this was brought about by the astral sword. He had to absorb this power. Otherwise, it would slowly disappear. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu on the other side. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu was still trapped. Yi Xian suddenly vanished. At the instant that Yi Xian vanished, Yuan Sheng vanished as well. Obviously, he didn't want Yi Xian to help Zhang Wenxiu. Indeed, if Zhang Wenxiu were to escape, then no ordinary person would be able to stop her. Her strength was merely inferior to the 6 great experts. When he saw Yuan Sheng charging over, Yi Xian slashed with his sword. The boundless sword. The executing heaven sword had the word "exterminate" on it. When the sword slashed down, Yuan Sheng's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly clasped his hands together and all the spiritual energy within a radius of 10,000 feet was instantly sucked dry. Then, a spiritual energy shield quietly condensed in his hands. Yi Xian's sword slashed down. Bang! The spirit energy shield shook violently, and then both of them retreated explosively. As they retreated, the executing heaven sword in Yi Xian's hands suddenly transformed into a ray of light that shot forward. In the distance, Yuan Sheng's lips curled into a ferocious smile. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. Rumble. As he punched out, a powerful spiritual chi fist print swept out from his fist. Bang! The spirit energy fist and Yi Xian's ray of light exploded at the same time. However, Yi Xian had already rushed to where Zhang Wenxiu was. With a wave of his right hand, the executing heaven sword flew into his hand. In the next moment, he held the sword and slashed forward. At the instant that Yi Xian attacked with his sword, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly attacked with his spear. The spear was like a bolt of lightning. If this chapter is not complete, please continue to the next page, inside and outside. Bang! The spear stabbed out, and the sword fell. The iron chains that bound Zhang Wenxiu suddenly trembled and then exploded. Zhang Wenxiu had escaped. Yi Xian hurriedly said, "Miss Wenxiu, please block it for me for an hour." With that, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to devour the energy in his body. Zhang Wenxiu glanced at Yi Xian. "Can I not block it?" Yi Xian was speechless. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yuan Sheng. "Do you still want to fight?" Yuan Sheng was silent. At this moment, a man suddenly appeared in front of Yuan Sheng. Seeing this man, Zhang Wenxiu's eyes narrowed. Very strong. Although it was just a glance, she could feel that this man's strength was not inferior to hers. The man smiled. I'm Yuan Ji of the Devouring Spirit Clan. Miss Wenxiu, for the sake of the Prophet, I can give you one last chance. If you don't care about this, I can promise you that we will only target Yi Xian today. We won't touch a single person of the Worldwide Academy. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yi Xian. Did you hear that? They are targeting you. Yi Xian's face darkened. This woman can't be tempted, can she? At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu looked at the man and smiled. First, my Worldwide Academy is now in an alliance with Yi Xian, the Shura Empress, and Fu Wenzong. If I give up on Yi Xian today, Fu Wenzong and the Shura Empress won't let my Worldwide Academy off. Second, Yi Xian has the key, and that study is in my academy. If you kill Yi Xian, who will be your next target? Even a pig's brain knows that your next target is my Worldwide Academy. If I give up on him now, it's the same as cutting off an arm. Do you think I'm stupid? Yuan Ji smiled. Miss Wenxiu, we don't have to be enemies, do we? Zhang Wenxiu smiled. I understand. If we don't want to be enemies, there's only one way. That is to give up the worldwide study, right? Yuan Ji smiled. Miss Wenxiu is a smart person. You should know that the Worldwide Academy isn't the Worldwide Academy it used to be. You don't have the ability to protect that study now. Zhang Wenxiu smiled. That study was left by teacher. Even if all the people in the Worldwide Academy die, we won't hand it over to beg for a living. Yuan Ji was silent for a moment and then nodded. If that's the case, then there's nothing to talk about. Then, he looked at Yi Xian, who was not far away. My Devouring Spirit Clan has been planning to kill him for a long time. If we can't kill him today, it will be a great loss for us. So, he must die today. As soon as he finished speaking, 4 black-robed old men suddenly appeared behind him. These 4 old men were covered in black robes, and their faces couldn't be seen. These 4 people were all at the peak of the Heaven's Secret Realm, and Zhang Wenxiu was also at the peak of the Heaven's Secret Realm. Of course, the Heaven's Secret Realm was also divided into the strong and the weak, and the strong and the weak depended on who could enter the higher dimensional space. However, the aura of these 4 black-robed men was not any weaker than Zhang Wenxiu. On the side, Zhang Wenxiu said softly, "Are we going to do it for real?" She knew that a big clan like the Devouring Spirit Clan had a deep foundation. Now, the Worldwide Academy couldn't compete with them. At this time, Yuan Ji suddenly smiled. Miss Wenxiu, let me see how much your Worldwide Academy is willing to pay to protect Yi Xian. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yuan Ji. You're sure that I won't open that big array, right? Yuan Ji looked at Zhang Wenxiu and said with a smile, if you open it, I will die. However, I can guarantee you that your academy won't live for more than 3 days, even if your headmaster comes back. Miss Wenxiu, do you dare to open that big array? Do you? P.S. It's winter recently. Our chickens only crow at 8 o'clock. I've been getting up late these 2 days. End of this chapter. Chapter 923. Zhang Wenxiu remained silent. The formation was the Worldwide Academy's last trump card. Once it was activated, the Worldwide Academy would lose its last trump card. At that time, the Worldwide Academy would be in even more danger. Should it be used? Of course not. At least, it couldn't be used against a person like Yuan Ji. A person like him wasn't worthy of the Worldwide Academy activating this formation. How could the Worldwide Academy resist Yuan Ji and the others if they didn't use this formation? Apart from Yuan Ji, there were 4 white-robed old men and 4 black-robed old men in the field. The 4 white-robed old men were in charge of the formation, and although the 4 black-robed old men did not make a move, their auras were not any weaker than hers. Of course, if it was a one-on-one battle, she was confident that she could kill any one of them. The problem was that it wasn't the time for a one-on-one battle. Besides these people, there were some experts from the Devouring Soul Clan above the Worldwide Academy. Some of them were from the Devouring Soul clan, and some weren't. How should she fight? Zhang Wenxiu remained silent. At this moment, she was in a dilemma. Suddenly, Yuan Ji smiled and said, "Attack." As soon as he finished speaking, the four white-robed old men behind him suddenly formed seals. In next to no time, the space in the surroundings started trembling, and then the spirit energy in the surroundings suddenly converged towards Zhang Wenxiu like a tidal wave. Obviously, they wanted to hold Zhang Wenxiu back. Zhang Wenxiu clenched her right hand slowly, and her face was extremely gloomy. The Worldwide Academy had never been humiliated like this. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly roared angrily. Her entire body became illusory, and countless lightning bolts surged around her like volcanic eruptions. At the same time, with her as the center, numerous spear shadows shot out in all directions. Seeing this, the expression of the white-robed old man changed. "All of you, attack quickly. We can hold him back for at most half an hour." "Half an hour?" Yuan Ji nodded slightly. "That's enough." As he spoke, he looked at the four black-robed old men, and the four black-robed old men looked at Yi Xian. A moment later, the four of them suddenly disappeared, and when they reappeared, they were in front of Yi Xian. Four super experts had joined forces. Obviously, they didn't want to give Yi Xian any chance. At this moment, Yi Xian naturally did not dare to devour anymore. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a small pagoda suddenly flew out from between his eyebrows. The prison pagoda. Bang! An explosion resounded like a clap of thunder. Then, Yi Xian and the tower retreated rapidly. Although the World Prison Pagoda had withstood the joint attack of the four people, Yi Xian had still eaten most of the force. When he stopped, he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood essence. That attack just now had ruptured all his internal organs. Right at this moment, the four black-robed old men suddenly vanished. In the distance, Yi Xian's pupils suddenly shrank. At this moment, he did not dare to hold back at all. He suddenly took out a golden pill and swallowed it. Godly Shimi Dan. As soon as this pill was consumed, a powerful force suddenly gathered in Yi Xian's body. At this moment, he felt as if his body was about to combust. Coupled with the fact that he had yet to fully absorb the power of the stars, Yi Xian felt like his body was about to explode. At that moment, he couldn't care less about his own body as he stabbed out with his sword. Chi! The space in front of him suddenly split open. In the next moment, Yi Xian vanished from where he stood, and the four black-robed old men missed their target. In the distance, Ji Yuan was stunned. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically. Four-dimensional spaces. Retreat. As soon as he finished speaking, a beam of sword light suddenly appeared in front of one of the black-robed old men. The black-robed old man's pupils suddenly constricted. This was completely out of his expectations. However, he did not choose to sit still and wait for death. The moment this beam of sword light appeared, he clasped his hands together and a powerful force swept out from his body. Boom! As Yi Xian's sword slashed down, the force released by the black-robed old man disappeared without a trace. The sword fell straight on the black-robed old man's head. Chi! The black-robed old man's body was directly split by Yi Xian's sword. Just as his soul was about to escape, Yi Xian's soul-calming sword directly stabbed into his body. In the blink of an eye, the black-robed old man's soul was completely absorbed. As for the remaining three black-robed old men, they had already retreated hundreds of feet away. At this moment, the three of them had extremely grave expressions. Ji Yuan's face was also full of disbelief as he stared at Yi Xian. How is this possible? How is it possible that you have four-dimensional spaces? Countless experts in the surroundings were also shocked. Four-dimensional spaces. At present, even Zhang Wenxiu could not enter that space. Only powerhouses like Yi Ling could enter that space. And what realm was Yi Xian at? He was only at the life and death realm. A life and death realm expert had actually entered a four-dimensional space. What kind of joke was this? In the distance, Yi Xian held the executing heaven sword in his right hand. His face was very pale, and his hands hidden in his sleeves were trembling. Although he had obtained Sumru power by relying on the Sumru pill and then used it to enter the four-dimensional space, with his current strength and physical body, he was not qualified to enter that kind of space, but he had forced his way in. There was a price to pay for forcing his way in. Right now, he felt as if his entire body had been sucked dry. However, he did not dare to show it. After swallowing the spring of life, his expression became much better. He looked at Ji Yuan in the distance and smiled. Surprised? Yuan Ji stared at Yi Xian. How did you do it? Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. Do you want to know my true identity? True identity? Yuan Ji frowned slightly. You have another identity? Yi Xian smiled. Why? Has your devouring spirit clan not investigated me? Yuan Ji was silent. They had naturally investigated Yi Xian. Coming from the four-dimensional universe, he had only started cultivating the sword at the age of 18, but his sword Dao had progressed rapidly. Moreover, there seemed to be a mysterious female swordsman behind him. As for this mysterious female swordsman, they did not have much information about her, nor did they know how strong she was. In short, this Yi Xian was indeed a bit mysterious, especially the relationship between Yi Xian and Shura Empress. They could not understand the relationship between the two. At this moment, seeing that Yi Xian could enter the four-dimensional space, Yuan Ji was really shocked. The four-dimensional space. That kind of unknown space, even he couldn't enter. At this moment, Yi Xian said again, actually, my true identity is. At this moment, a white-robed old man not far away suddenly said, he is stalling for time. Stalling for time. Yuan Ji suddenly came to a realization. This Yi Xian's strength could not reach Yi Ling's level. Moreover, if Yi Xian really had that kind of strength, then he would have already swept away everything. Why would he be so long-winded here? There was only one explanation. Yi Xian must have used some secret method to forcibly enter that space. Backlash. At this moment, Yi Xian must be suffering from the backlash. Yuan Ji looked at Yi Xian and said, attack. The remaining three black-robed old men immediately disappeared. At this moment, Yi Xian once again disappeared from where he was standing. Seeing this scene, the expressions of the three black-robed old men and Yuan Ji changed greatly. The three black-robed old men hurriedly retreated. It must be known that once Yi Xian entered the four-dimensional space, he would absolutely suppress them. No one dared to resist Yi Xian's sword in the four-dimensional space. However, when they retreated, they found that Yi Xian did not appear. Where was Yi Xian? The three old men looked at each other. It was as if Yi Xian had evaporated into thin air. At this moment, a ray of sword light suddenly appeared in the area where Zhang Wenxiu was. The three black-robed old men and Yuan Ji immediately turned to look at where Zhang Wenxiu was. At this moment, a ray of sword light appeared, and one of the white-robed old men was slashed back. As soon as this white-robed old man was slashed back, the formation maintained by the four of them instantly shattered, and Zhang Wenxiu rushed out. As soon as he rushed out, Zhang Wenxiu charged at one of the white-robed old men. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu was like a madman. Anger. She was really angry. When had the Worldwide Academy been bullied like this? In his rage, Zhang Wenxiu's strength was extraordinary. Wherever his spear passed, the space was turned into nothingness. The expression of the white-robed old man who was targeted by Zhang Wenxiu changed drastically, and he pressed his palms together. Spirit gathering. As soon as he spoke, the spiritual energy around him suddenly converged towards him and formed a thick spiritual energy wall in front of him. A ferocious expression appeared on the corners of Zhang Wenxiu's mouth. Die. As soon as she finished speaking, the spear in her hand suddenly stabbed forward, and with this stab, her lightning spear directly exploded. Bang! The spiritual energy wall turned into ashes. The white-robed old man was shocked, and he was about to retreat when a spear suddenly pierced through his forehead at an extremely fast speed. Hiss! The white-robed old man's eyes opened wide, and his body stiffened. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu appeared in front of the white-robed old man, and she suddenly pulled out her spear. Hiss! Blood splattered. After pulling out her spear, Zhang Wenxiu swept it horizontally towards the white-robed old man's head. Bang! The white-robed old man's head was sent flying, and fresh blood sprayed out like a fountain. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yi Xian, and at this moment, Yi Xian's face was very pale. At this moment, anyone could see that he was in a bad situation. Yi Xian had no other choice. He knew that he couldn't drag this on any longer, and he could only fight to free Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. Can you still fight? Yi Xian shook his head. I can't. Zhang Wenxiu asked, how long do you need? Yi Xian said in a low voice, 1 hour. Zhang Wenxiu nodded. I'll buy you 1 hour. Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu. Are you sure? Zhang Wenxiu shook her head. I'm not sure. Yi Xian was speechless. Zhang Wenxiu turned to look at Yuan Ji and the others, and said softly, hurry up and heal your wounds, leave the rest to me. Yi Xian nodded, and he didn't think any further. He sat down cross-legged and began to heal his wounds. Zhang Wenxiu opened her palm, and a spear suddenly appeared in her hand. Zhang Wenxiu slowly closed her eyes. Teacher, I'm going back on my word. As soon as she finished speaking, her eyes opened abruptly. Hiss! 2 rays of black light suddenly shot out from Zhang Wenxiu's eyes, and at the same time, a black aura suddenly swept out from Zhang Wenxiu's body. In the distance, Yuan Ji's expression changed. Demonization, this is the power of the bloodline. You're a descendant of the ancient demons. Chapter 924. The Ancient Devil Clan. This was a clan that was almost forgotten by people, because this clan had disappeared a long, long time ago. It was a clan that existed even before the Devouring Spirit clan existed. It could be said that very few people in the 5th dimension knew about this clan. It just so happened that the Devouring Spirit clan knew about it. Because the Ancient Devil clan existed before them, and the Devouring Spirit clan had once dispatched numerous experts to search for the ruins of this clan. Devils. It was an ancient and mysterious clan. After many years of investigation, they'd felt that this clan had vanished completely. However, Yuan Ji hadn't imagined that Zhang Wenxiu was actually a member of the Ancient Devil clan. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu held a black spear in her hand, her golden hair had turned pitch black, and her entire body emanated monstrous devil energy. Moreover, she seemed like a devil god that had descended into the world. Yuan Ji stared fixedly at Zhang Wenxiu, and his eyes were extremely solemn. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly disappeared. Hiss! The sound of something tearing apart resounded. Everyone watched as the space in front of Yuan Ji exploded apart inch by inch, and then a black spear stabbed out from within the shattered space towards Yuan Ji. Yuan Ji slowly clenched his right fist, and then a strand of powerful force converged in his fist. A ferocious expression appeared on his face as he smashed his fist forward when the spear arrived in front of him. Bang! The space they resided in was instantly obliterated while Yuan Ji was instantly blasted flying. At the instant that his figure was blasted flying, Zhang Wenxiu's spear stabbed into his fist, and then it pierced through his entire right arm. At the same time, the powerful force of the collision blasted Yuan Ji over 1 kilometer away. He'd been defeated with a single move. The expressions of everyone here changed drastically when they witnessed this scene. How did Zhang Wenxiu suddenly become so strong? Yuan Ji gazed at his right hand, and his pupils constricted when he saw it. He was astounded to the extreme. At this moment, his entire arm and body were actually being corroded at an extremely swift speed. Yuan Ji looked up at Zhang Wenxiu who stood in the distance. Meanwhile, Zhang Wenxiu waved her right hand, and a black spear suddenly appeared in her grasp. She slowly closed her eyes, and the blood in her entire body was boiling. If one looked closely, one would notice that the blood in her entire body wasn't red, but dark black. The bloodline of the devil race. She was currently using the bloodline of the devil race, the third-ranked bloodline in the five-dimensional universe. It was only inferior to the bloodline of the Heavenly Dragon clan and the legendary mortal bloodline. In fact, even the experts in the academy were slightly shocked because they didn't expect Zhang Wenxiu to have such a powerful bloodline. Besides the prophet, no one else knew about Zhang Wenxiu's true origins. All they knew was that the prophet had brought her here. When she just arrived at the academy, many people didn't like her because she was too arrogant and fought at the slightest disagreement. Moreover, she just so happened to be extremely strong, and besides the master, no one else in the academy was a match for her. Even though Zhang Wenxiu was like a little devil who liked to compete with others, she was extremely knowledgeable in the academy, and she was merely inferior to the master. So, everyone in the academy both hated and respected her. Zhang Wenxiu held the spear tightly in her right hand. At this moment, the bloodline throughout her entire body was boiling like lava, and the strength she emanated was growing stronger and stronger. After she'd activated her bloodline, her strength wasn't inferior to the 6 great experts of the five-dimensional universe. Right at this moment, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly opened her eyes, and she gazed at Yuan Ji, who was still being corroded. The latter's expression changed drastically, and he retreated explosively. Hiss! A ray of black light flashed, and then Yuan Ji stopped on the spot. At this moment, his head had vanished, and there was a figure behind his body. This chapter isn't finished. Please continue to the next page. Zhang Wenxiu. A bloody head was stabbed into the black spear in Zhang Wenxiu's hand. It was Yuan Ji's head. Instant annihilation. The expressions of the experts of the Devouring Spirit clan changed drastically when they witnessed this scene. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu's strength was exceedingly formidable. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly turned to look at the 3 black-robed old men. At this moment, they were the strongest amongst the 3 black-robed old men. Their expressions instantly changed when they saw Zhang Wenxiu look over. At this moment, they had no choice but to fear Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly vanished, and so did the 3 black-robed old men. Rumble. An explosion suddenly resounded in the sky above the worldwide academy, and then the 3 black-robed old men were blasted back repeatedly. 1 against 3. Moreover, it was a direct suppression. The 3 black-robed old men could only passively defend themselves. On the ground below, Yi Xian healed himself while absorbing the energy from the stellar sword, and Xiao Ta stood on guard by his side. Xiao Ta was extremely strong now, and ordinary people weren't a match for him. Meanwhile, the man with the zither who was fighting Lin Xiaoshu suddenly stopped. He glanced at the surroundings, and then his gaze descended onto Yi Xian in the end. However, Lin Xiaoshu stood in front of him. The man with the zither gazed at Lin Xiaoshu. Lin Xiaoshu, according to my knowledge, Yi Xian has killed many members of your academy. Lin Xiaoshu fell silent. The man with the zither continued, You. Lin Xiaoshu suddenly said, I don't like him, but he can't die today. The man with the zither's face darkened, and he turned to look at the 3 black-robed old men not far away. When he saw the 3 black-robed old men being crushed by Zhang Wenxiu, his expression became even more unsightly. If this continued, it was highly likely that Zhang Wenxiu would kill the 3 black-robed old men. Moreover, the battle had dragged on for a long time. If Li Mubai failed to restrain the Shura Empress, the situation would become even more serious. As if thinking of something, the man with the zither suddenly looked up at the sky. Deep in the clouds stood a woman. This woman was Wu Xingnan from the Wu Kingdom. The man with the zither looked at Wu Xingnan. Miss Wu, if we don't kill Yi Xian today, we won't have such a good opportunity in the future. Wu Xingnan said calmly, as far as I know, the Devouring Spirit clan's Yuan Tian Supreme is no weaker than the 6 great masters. Why don't you let him attack? Yuan Tian Supreme. The man with the zither's face darkened. This time, the Devouring Spirit clan had not used their full strength to kill Yi Xian. The reason why they had waited until Yi Xian had left the Worldwide Academy was because they were afraid of the Worldwide Academy. After all, the Worldwide Academy not only had the teacher, but it also had a super array. They did not want to fight to the death with the Worldwide Academy. However, they had not expected that Yi Xian would escape back to the academy. This was something they had not expected. If the Devouring Spirit clan wanted to destroy the academy, they would have to face the teacher and the legendary array. At this moment, the Devouring Spirit clan did not want to fight to the death with the Worldwide Academy. Even if they won, the price would be great. The best choice was to let Wu Xingnan from the Wu Kingdom and the Divine Burial Cavalry behind her attack. Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian and Zhang Wenxiu, who had activated the power of bloodline, and turned to leave. If she attacked, together with the Divine Burial Cavalry of the Wu Kingdom, she had a high chance of killing Yi Xian. Yi Xian could not stop her and the Divine Burial Cavalry. However, why did she attack? If she were to make a move and force the Myriad Dimension Academy into a hopeless situation, then once the Myriad Dimension Academy activated the Grand Formation or that master suddenly appeared, then at that time, she, the God Burial Cavaliers, and the experts of the Martial Kingdom would absolutely be annihilated. Although the current situation was, this chapter is not finished, please continue to the next page. The Worldwide Academy was not as good as it was in the past, but who dared to look down on it? Just one headmaster was enough to make any force fear him. Wu Xingnan wasn't stupid. She knew that if she made a move, she would become a dowry for the Devouring Spirit clan. Moreover, if she killed Yi Xian, the Shura Empress would retaliate crazily. Once such a powerhouse retaliated, who could withstand it? Wu Xingnan decisively chose to leave. Because she knew that if she killed Yi Xian now, the price would be very high. Seeing Wu Xingnan leave, the Zither man's expression became ugly. Miss Wu, is your Wu Kingdom going to go back on your word? Wu Xingnan suddenly stopped and turned to look at the Zither man. Your Devouring Spirit clan has so many experts, why don't you attack? The Zither man said angrily, my Devouring Spirit clan has not sent enough experts. Wu Xingnan looked at the Zither man, you want my Wu Kingdom to face the teacher and the array, and then your Devouring Spirit clan can sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? The Zither man said in a low voice, Miss Wu, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, how about this, your Devouring Spirit clan will send people to force them out of the array. As for the teacher, my Wu Kingdom will deal with him. What do you think? The Zither man's expression became ugly. Miss Wu, that array is the greatest array in the world. Aren't you sending my Devouring Spirit clan to our deaths? Wu Xingnan retorted, then aren't you sending me to my death by asking me to act? The Zither man wanted to say something, but Wu Xingnan suddenly said, one more word and I will kill you. With that, she turned and left. At this moment, a black-robed old man in the distance was swept away by Zhang Wenxiu's spear. In the process of flying, a long spear instantly pierced his forehead. Blood splattered. Seeing this scene, the Zither man's expression changed. He looked up at the clouds in the sky. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the clouds, retreat. Retreat. Obviously, the Devouring Spirit clan did not want to fight with the Worldwide Academy. Because the teacher had not appeared yet. Would the teacher not care about the academy? The Devouring Spirit clan did not dare to gamble. Of course, they did not expect that Zhang Wenxiu would be so bold as to protect Yi Xian at all costs. This was completely unexpected. If not for the Worldwide Academy's protection, they could have killed Yi Xian. Soon, the Zither man and the other Devouring Spirit clan experts retreated. Zhang Wenxiu did not chase after them because she was also a little abnormal at this moment. After the Devouring Spirit clan experts retreated, Zhang Wenxiu looked up at the sky. Devouring Spirit clan, Zhang Wenxiu, will remember today's debt. Above the clouds, a chuckle sounded. The Devouring Spirit clan will wait for you to settle the score. Zhang Wenxiu looked coldly at the sky, then turned around and came in front of Yi Xian. Before Yi Xian could react, she grabbed his shoulder and disappeared. The next moment, Zhang Wenxiu came to a secret room with Yi Xian. Zhang Wenxiu spread out her right hand, and Xiao Ta appeared in her hand. She gently wiped her left hand, and Xiao Ta was directly sent to another space. Yi Xian was a little puzzled. At this time, Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian. Her clothes suddenly turned to ashes, and she was naked. Yi Xian was completely stunned. Was she going to force herself on him? P.S. I recommend a very good urban novel, also published by Vertical and Horizontal, called Great Country's Famous Chef. Those who like urban novels must read it, don't miss it. I swear, if I update it after 8:00 tomorrow, my testicles will be 10 centimeters shorter. Live broadcast handstand diarrhea, I will do it. End of this chapter. Chapter 925. Needless to say, Yi Xian was dumbfounded at this moment. Why did Zhang Wenxiu take off her clothes at the slightest provocation? What was she trying to do? Yi Xian glanced at Zhang Wenxiu's beautiful body. He had to admit that Zhang Wenxiu was really beautiful, especially when she was naked. As if sensing Zhang Wenxiu's gaze, Yi Xian quickly retracted his gaze and said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, I'm not a casual person. Don't be like this, I'm really not that kind of person." As he said that, he was already ready to take off his clothes. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly closed her eyes slowly, her voice trembling. "If you talk nonsense again, I'll kill you right now." Yi Xian was speechless. What do you mean by talking nonsense? You're the one who took off your clothes first. Did I think wrongly? At this time, Zhang Wenxiu said again, "My bloodline is the bloodline of the ancient demon clan, it's extremely domineering. Back then, when Master was around, he could use his power to suppress me, but now, no one can suppress my bloodline." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "You don't have to suppress it." Zhang Wenxiu opened her eyes and looked at Yi Xian. "If I don't suppress it, my blood will fill me to death. Because of its strength, I can't subdue it yet, so I can only suppress it." Hearing this, Yi Xian understood. This Zhang Wenxiu's bloodline should be similar to his bloodline, they were both uncontrollable existences. Yi Xian collected his thoughts and then said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, you want us to balance yin and yang?" Zhang Wenxiu suddenly slapped Yi Xian's head. Smack! What a loud sound. Yi Xian was speechless. "Isn't it balance yin and yang?" Zhang Wenxiu glared at Yi Xian. "Do you believe that I'll cut you up later?" Yi Xian immediately felt a chill in his crotch. Needless to say, this woman would definitely dare to do that. Yi Xian said seriously, "Miss Wenxiu, just tell me what you want to do." Zhang Wenxiu took a deep breath to calm the rage in her heart, and then she said, "My blood is already boiling. There's only a single way to suppress them, and it's to find a bloodline that's even stronger than them to forcefully suppress them." Yi Xian frowned. "Miss Wenxiu, are you saying that my bloodline is stronger than yours?" Zhang Wenxiu nodded. "I don't know the origin of your bloodline, but I can feel that your bloodline is stronger than mine. So, I need your bloodline to suppress mine." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "If I activate my bloodline, I won't be able to control it. It'll be very dangerous." Zhang Wenxiu shook his head. "You don't need to activate it, you just need to borrow it." Yi Xian was about to speak when he noticed a faint flame suddenly appearing on Zhang Wenxiu's body. The faint flame enveloped Zhang Wenxiu's entire body, and under the cover of the flame, Zhang Wenxiu's body seemed to be burning. It was a terrifying sight. At this moment, he understood why Zhang Wenxiu had to take off her clothes. The flame was too strong. Even if she did not take off her clothes, she would still be burned to ashes. Yi Xian did not waste his breath, and immediately said, "What do I need to do?" Zhang Wenxiu suddenly grabbed Yi Xian's hand, and her wrist with Yi Xian's suddenly split open. The next moment, Yi Xian's blood flowed into her body through her hand. Boom! The moment Yi Xian's blood entered Zhang Wenxiu's body, a strong force suddenly erupted from Zhang Wenxiu's body, and Zhang Wenxiu's black hair began to gradually turn red. She was affected by Yi Xian's bloodline. Zhang Wenxiu slowly closed her eyes. She had to admit that Yi Xian's bloodline was too terrifying. Even she was unable to completely resist that ruthless aura and murderous intent. When Yi Xian's blood entered Zhang Wenxiu's body, the demonic bloodline in her body seemed to be in danger, and it began to resist wildly, wanting to devour Yi Xian's blood. At this moment, Yi Xian's blood boiled. Boom! A blood-red glow directly engulfed Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu frowned, and at this moment, her body began to tremble violently. Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Wenxiu." Zhang Wenxiu said, "I need more blood." Yi Xian nodded, and he held Zhang Wenxiu's hand. Soon, the blood in his body began to surge towards Zhang Wenxiu, and his face also became pale at this moment. However, at this moment, he could not care so much. He had to do his best to suppress Zhang Wenxiu's bloodline. As more and more blood entered, the demonic bloodline in Zhang Wenxiu's body suddenly became violent. Danger! At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu's brows furrowed even deeper, and her entire face gradually contorted, as if she was suffering a great deal of pain. Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Wenxiu, are you all right?" Zhang Wenxiu did not answer, and her whole body was trembling. Yi Xian said, "Do you want me to withdraw my blood?" Zhang Wenxiu shook her head, and said in a trembling voice, "My bloodline is already afraid, I can hold on for a while." Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu's body. At this moment, half of her body was black, and the other half was red. However, the red side was slowly spreading to the black side. It was beginning to suppress. In fact, this was his blood entering Zhang Wenxiu's body. If Zhang Wenxiu's blood entered his body, it would be instantly suppressed. After all, his blood and Zhang Wenxiu's body had 0 degree of fusion. Therefore, in Zhang Wenxiu's body, his blood could not cause any suppression to Zhang Wenxiu's blood. However, it was still fine because Zhang Wenxiu's demonic bloodline was obviously not as strong as Yi Xian's bloodline. Zhang Wenxiu's body gradually turned blood red. However, Zhang Wenxiu was feeling a little uncomfortable. This was because at this moment, she was suffering from the backlash of the two bloodlines. Yi Xian quickly took out the spring of life and fed it to Zhang Wenxiu. After drinking the spring of life, Zhang Wenxiu's complexion instantly looked better. Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Wenxiu, are you all right?" Zhang Wenxiu did not reply. She grabbed Yi Xian's arm tightly with both hands, and her whole body was still trembling. Boom! At this moment, the demonic bloodline in Zhang Wenxiu's body suddenly erupted. Seeing this, Yi Xian's expression changed. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu said in a trembling voice, "It's making its last gamble." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Can you still hold on?" Just as Zhang Wenxiu was about to speak, a blood-red light suddenly swept out from her body. Obviously, Yi Xian's blood had begun to retaliate as well. As Yi Xian's blood retaliated, Zhang Wenxiu's entire face immediately contorted. Pain! Just as Yi Xian was about to speak, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly hugged him tightly and said in a trembling voice, "What kind of bloodline is this? Why is it so strong that it can actually corrode my mind?" Yi Xian shook his head, "I don't know what kind of bloodline it is." In fact, he did not know much about his own bloodline. In any case, this bloodline was extremely powerful. It was so powerful that sometimes, it almost killed him. Yi Xian collected his thoughts. He carried Zhang Wenxiu and placed her on the wooden bed at the side. He took out a robe and covered Zhang Wenxiu. However, as soon as the robe was covered, it turned into ashes. Yi Xian frowned. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly said, "What's wrong? Don't you look good?" Yi Xian looked at Zhang Wenxiu. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu was staring at him. One of her eyes was black and the other was red. Obviously, the demonic bloodline had not been completely suppressed. Yi Xian said softly, "Miss Wenxiu has the beauty of a celestial being. How can it not be beautiful?" Zhang Wenxiu looked straight at Yi Xian and clenched her fists tightly. "Then don't you have any thoughts?" Yi Xian said, "Yes. Facing such a beautiful woman, it was impossible to say that he had no thoughts at all. Moreover, the woman in front of him was currently naked. Not only was Zhang Wenxiu hot-tempered, but her beauty was also peerless. Zhang Wenxiu looked at Yi Xian without saying a word. Yi Xian smiled, "Miss Wenxiu, just because you have some wild thoughts doesn't mean you have to do anything. Moreover, it was because of me that you activated your devil bloodline. At this moment, I am a little daydreaming about you. This is not something I can control, because this is human nature. Moreover, Lady Wenxiu is indeed very beautiful. Not to mention me, I believe that no man in this world can ignore Lady Wenxiu's beauty. However, if I take advantage of you now, then I am worse than a beast." This was his heartfelt words. He had always believed that people could be shameless and flirtatious, but they could not be vulgar and have no bottom line. Zhang Wenxiu glanced at Yi Xian, then slowly closed her eyes. At this moment, her clenched fists also slowly relaxed. The blood-red glow around Zhang Wenxiu's body increased. At this time, Yi Xian took out some spring of life and fed it to Zhang Wenxiu. About half an hour later, the demonic bloodline in Zhang Wenxiu's body gradually subsided. Zhang Wenxiu suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, Yi Xian's demonic bloodline was in her body. Yi Xian was shocked. Zhang Wenxiu said with a trembling voice, "Take back the blood." Yi Xian nodded quickly. He placed his right hand on Zhang Wenxiu's wrist. Soon, his blood began to return to his body, and he suddenly felt terrible. Yi Xian hurriedly suppressed his bloodline. He did not dare to completely activate his bloodline. When all the blood returned to Yi Xian's body, Zhang Wenxiu immediately returned to normal. However, Yi Xian was a little abnormal. Zhang Wenxiu quickly placed her right hand on Yi Xian's shoulder. A powerful force surged from her hand, and she began to help Yi Xian suppress the power of his bloodline. However, she found that her strength was not enough to suppress Yi Xian's bloodline at all. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly frowned. His body was turning red at an extremely fast speed, and the demonic bloodline in his body began to become restless. A restless bloodline. Zhang Wenxiu's face darkened when she saw this. She was about to finish speaking when Yi Xian suddenly roared and hugged Zhang Wenxiu. Zhang Wenxiu's expression changed drastically. She was about to resist, but she was shocked to find that she was extremely weak at this moment. She did not have the strength to resist Yi Xian at all. In a moment of desperation, Zhang Wenxiu suddenly grabbed a certain part of Yi Xian's body and said fiercely, "If you dare to act recklessly, I'll castrate you." However, as soon as she touched him, Yi Xian completely lost his mind. His clothes instantly turned to ashes, and in the next moment, Yi Xian directly. Chapter 926. At this moment, Yi Xian had completely lost his mind. Zhang Wenxiu was also at her weakest. She had no strength to resist Yi Xian at all. The moment Yi Xian entered, a low moan suddenly sounded in the room. There was a hint of pain in the voice. Lifting her jade-like feet and stroking her jade-like buttocks, one moving and one still, she entered the clouds. Her eyes blurred and her body gradually trembled. Each wave was higher than the last. Everyone said that longevity was good, but how could it be better than a room in the mortal world? Half an acre of green field opened up once he entered. This place was not accessible to outsiders. About 2 hours later, the red glow on Yi Xian's body gradually subsided. Another hour passed. Yi Xian, who was lying on the bed, suddenly opened his eyes. As if he had thought of something, he suddenly looked down at his lower body. There was a spot of blood blooming like a plum blossom. Yi Xian frowned. "I'm bleeding." As if something had occurred to him, Yi Xian slapped himself hard in the mouth. At this moment, he thought of many things. It's over. That was Yi Xian's first thought. After a moment, Yi Xian shook his head. He looked around. Zhang Wenxiu was no longer there. She didn't kill me? Yi Xian thought about it, then put on his clothes and walked out. At this moment, the worldwide academy had returned to peace. However, the academy was still in a mess. Many of the buildings had been destroyed. At this moment, a black-robed elder suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The black-robed elder opened his palm and the prison pagoda appeared in his hand. He handed the prison pagoda to Yi Xian. Master Yi, Hierarch Wuxia asked me to give this to you. Yi Xian took the prison pagoda and asked, "Where's Miss Wuxia? I want to see her." The black-robed elder said, "Hierarch Wuxia is in seclusion." Seclusion? Yi Xian frowned. How long will it take? The black-robed elder shook his head. I don't know. Yi Xian was silent. The black-robed old man said, "Divine Master Yi, although the devouring spirit clan was defeated this time, they will never let it go. They may attack Fu Wenzhong next time. You'd better go back and get ready." Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, "Senior, please notify me if Miss Wuxia emerges from her closed-door cultivation." The black-robed elder nodded. All right. Yi Xian glanced at the courtyard where Zhang Wuxia resided, and then he said, "Farewell." With that, he disappeared into the horizon. As soon as Yi Xian arrived in the clouds, a woman appeared in front of him. Yi Ling. Yi Xian instantly heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Yi Ling was safe and sound. Even though he knew that Yi Ling was formidable, if the devouring spirit clan intended to target Yi Ling, then Yi Ling would be in great danger. Yi Ling spoke softly when she saw Yi Xian, "It's good that you're fine." Yi Xian spoke in a low voice, "Was Li Mubai the one who stopped you?" Yi Ling nodded. Yi Xian's face fell. Li Mubai. Yi Xian turned to look in the direction of Immortal Exile City, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed through his eyes. Yi Ling spoke softly, "The devouring spirit clan probably bribed him with something." Yi Xian spoke indifferently, "No matter what, I'll remember this." Yi Ling nodded. Yes. Then, she looked at Yi Xian, "What's your next plan?" Yi Xian said, "This time, the devouring spirit clan didn't expect that I could escape, and they didn't expect that the worldwide academy would protect me. So, they failed this time. But they definitely won't give up. If I'm not wrong, they'll probably make a move against Fu Wenzhong." Fu Wenzhong. Yi Ling said, "I'll go to Fu Wenzhong." Yi Xian nodded. "You must go to Fu Wenzhong. Only with you can they not dare to act rashly." Yi Ling turned to look in the direction of the devouring spirit clan and said softly, "I can't just sit and wait for death." Yi Xian nodded slightly. "I can't just sit and wait for death. I have to find a way to contact those big families." Then, he seemed to think of something and looked at Yi Ling. "The Wu Kingdom has appeared. Ling, do you have any hatred for the Wu Kingdom? If you do, I won't go to them." Yi Ling shook her head. "We used to be enemies. However, with the appearance of the Prophet, we have disappeared from the eyes of the world. As for enmity, those who had enmity with him back then should have all died." Yi Xian smiled. "That's good. Because the first place I want to find is the Wu Kingdom." Yi Ling asked, "Why?" Yi Xian said, "Because the Wu Kingdom didn't completely help the devouring spirit clan just now. That is to say, the Wu Kingdom has its own ideas. As long as they have their own ideas, I will have a chance." Yi Ling said softly, "I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to convince them." Yi Xian smiled. "It's okay. I have to try. What if I succeed? If I succeed, the devouring spirit clan will have one less helper and we will have one more powerful ally." Yi Ling nodded. "You can give it a try. But be careful." Yi Xian smiled. "Don't worry. Your brother's ability to escape is very strong." Yi Ling walked in front of Yi Xian. She grabbed Yi Xian's hand and said softly, "Before, I was very afraid. For the first time, I felt afraid." Yi Xian said, "What are you afraid of?" Yi Ling looked at Yi Xian. "I'm afraid of losing you." Yi Xian was silent. Yi Ling said softly, "I want to live well." You also have to live well. We brother and sister have to live well. Okay? Yi Xian gently rubbed Yi Ling's head and said with a smile, okay. Being rubbed by Yi Xian, Yi Ling didn't resist at all. On the contrary, she felt very close to him. After the brother and sister met for a while, Yi Ling left. She went directly to Fu Wenzong. Now, Fu Wenzong must be guarded by a super expert. Otherwise, a sneak attack from the devouring spirit clan could kill Fu Wenzong. After parting with Yi Ling, Yi Xian was preparing to go to Wu country. At this time, an old man suddenly appeared in front of him. Yi Xian held the executing heaven sword in his right hand. The old man's expression changed. He quickly said, Divine Master Yi, don't attack. This old man is Mu Danshan of the Alchemy faction. Alchemy faction? Yi Xian looked at Mu Danshan and said, Senior Mu, is there something you need from me? Mu Danshan said seriously, Divine Master Yi, tell the old man honestly, where did you get the golden pill that you swallowed in the Worldwide Academy? Golden pill. Yi Xian glanced at Mu Danshan. It turned out that she had come for this. The other party's information network was really well informed. At this time, Mu Danshan said, Divine Master Yi, as far as I know, there are 2 Shumi golden pills in this world and these 2 pills are in my alchemy sect. In this world, there is absolutely no one who can refine this Shumi golden pill. Yi Xian asked, why? Mu Danshan said in a deep voice, because in this world, there is no such rare spiritual energy. Moreover, even if there is such rare spiritual energy, no one has that kind of attainment in alchemy. Yi Xian shook his head. You are wrong. Mu Danshan looked at Yi Xian, and Yi Xian said with a smile, as far as I know, there is such rare spiritual energy in this world, and there are also people with such high attainment in alchemy. No, it's spirits. Mu Danshan stared at Yi Xian. Who? Yi Xian was silent. Mu Danshan suddenly bowed respectfully. Divine Master Yi, please tell me. Otherwise, the old man will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Yi Xian thought for a moment, then he called Xiao Linger out. When she saw Xiao Linger, Mu Danshan's expression suddenly became strange. Divine Master Yi, are you saying that she is the person who refined the pill? Yi Xian nodded. Mu Danshan's face darkened. Divine Master Yi, she is not human. Yi Xian said with a smile, can't someone who isn't human do alchemy? Mu Danshan was speechless. At this time, Yi Xian gently patted Xiao Linger on the shoulder and said with a smile, show this senior what you're capable of. Xiao Linger blinked, then took out the alchemy furnace and began to refine pills on the spot. Yi Xian was also watching seriously. This was the first time he had watched Xiao Linger refine pills so seriously. Xiao Linger was very serious. She put all kinds of elixir materials into the alchemy furnace little by little. She did it very carefully, and her technique was also very skilled. She was not refining a Sumru Jin Dan, but a marrow-cleansing spiritual pill. At this moment, Mu Danshan was also fascinated by it. About half an hour later, Xiao Linger waved her small hand, and a wisp of dark purple spiritual energy appeared in her palm. When she saw this wisp of dark purple spiritual energy, Mu Danshan was stunned. Yi Xian was also a little serious. This wisp of spiritual energy was the purest spiritual energy he had ever seen. It was even purer than chaotic qi. Xiao Linger put the wisp of purple energy into the alchemy furnace. Soon, the alchemy furnace began to tremble gradually. About a quarter of an hour later, the lid of the alchemy furnace suddenly opened, and a golden elixir floated out of the alchemy furnace. Xiao Linger's small hand waved, and the golden elixir fell into her hand. Then, she handed the golden elixir to Yi Xian. Yi Xian sniffed it and then gave Xiao Linger a thumbs up. Amazing! After receiving Yi Xian's praise, Xiao Linger's face suddenly showed a bright smile. At this time, Mu Danshan suddenly said in a trembling voice, Divine Master Yi, can you show me this thing? Yi Xian nodded and said with a smile, of course. After saying that, he bent his finger and the golden elixir fell in front of Mu Danshan. Mu Danshan held the golden elixir with both hands. After a while, he said in a trembling voice, "The perfect elixir. It's really the perfect elixir, without a trace of impurities. Not even a trace. It's terrible." Yi Xian was a little curious. "The perfect elixir? What do you mean?" Mu Danshan looked at Yi Xian. "Divine Master Yi, you may not know this, but as the saying goes, medicine is 30% poisonous. When we refine elixirs, we have to remove the poison and impurities, but this is very difficult. Even the old man can only remove 80% of the poison." Speaking of this, he looked at Xiao Linga with a complicated expression. "But she can remove all the poison in the elixir, and there is no trace of impurities. This is incredible." Yi Xian was very happy when he heard Mu Danshan praise Yi Ling, and he said with a smile, "Senior Mu, I still have something to do, so I'll be taking my leave first." As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to leave with Xiao Linger. Meanwhile, Mu Danshan suddenly said, "Divine Master Yi, please wait." Yi Xian looked at Mu Danshan. Mu Danshan hesitated for a moment and said, "I wonder if this young lady has a master?" Yi Xian shook his head. "She doesn't. She just learned how to refine elixirs according to some ancient alchemy books." Mu Danshan was visibly moved. What a monstrous genius. As he spoke, he hesitated to speak. Yi Xian smiled and said, "What does Senior Mu want to say?" Mu Danshan hesitated for a moment and said, "The old man wants her to join my alchemy sect." Yi Xian shook his head. "No." Mu Danshan frowned slightly. "Why?" Yi Xian said seriously, "Senior, you know that I, Fu Wenzong, have a great enemy in the Devouring Spirit clan. If she joins my alchemy sect, then your alchemy sect will be implicated as well." How could Mu Danshan not understand what Yi Xian meant? Yi Xian wants my alchemy sect to take a stand. Should I be dragged into this vortex? Mu Danshan fell silent. P.S. I've noticed that some readers are getting more and more naughty. Am I imagining things? Chapter 927. In all fairness, Mu Danshan did not want to get involved in this dispute because the Devouring Spirit clan was very aggressive. If the alchemy sect got involved, it was likely to bring disaster to the alchemy sect. Yi Xian's intention was clear. He wanted the alchemy sect to take a side. Mu Danshan sighed. "Divine Master Yi, I need to be responsible for the entire alchemy sect." Yi Xian nodded and smiled. "I understand. I will not force the alchemy sect to get involved in this dispute." After saying that, he pulled Lil Ling, and turned to leave. At this moment, Mu Danshan stood in front of Yi Xian again. He glanced at Lil Linger, hesitated for a moment, and then said, "Master Yi, if you're willing to let him join my alchemy sect, you can name your conditions." Yi Xian thought about it and said, "Senior Mu, do you really think the alchemy sect can avoid this dispute?" Mu Danshan frowned. "What do you mean?" Yi Xian smiled. What was the purpose of the Devouring Spirit clan? It was to destroy all living beings and make the Devouring Spirit clan the sole ruler. Now, although they are only targeting me and the Worldwide Academy, do you really think so? If we die, what do you think they will do? Mu Danshan was silent. Yi Xian smiled. "With all due respect, everyone is now watching me and the Worldwide Academy. But I believe that in the future, your fate will be worse than ours." Mu Danshan said calmly, "Divine Master Yi, you're being a little alarmist. In the past, the Devouring Spirit clan had the strength to dominate the fifth dimension, but now they do not." Yi Xian smiled. "I can understand that the alchemy sect wants to be neutral. After all, the Devouring Spirit clan is not targeting the alchemy sect. And I, Yi Xian, do not want to use Xiao Ling, to threaten the alchemy sect. It's just that Xiao Ling, is my sister. If she joins the alchemy sect, she will inevitably be targeted by the Devouring Spirit clan. I don't want her to be in any danger." Mu Danshan hurriedly said, you can rest assured about this, Divine Mentor Yi. Our alchemy sect will protect her with our lives and not let her be in any danger. Yi Xian looked straight at Mu Chen. None of you are as strong as me. What guarantee do you have? With all due respect, if the Devouring Spirit clan exerts a little pressure on you, what can you do to resist? Head. Mutant Chen still wanted to say something, but Yi Xian said, also, Senior Mu, Xiaolinger has reached such a realm without a teacher. Tell me, why does she still want to go to your alchemy sect? What good would it do her? Want money? Do you think I, Fu Wenzong, am not as rich as your alchemy sect? Learn alchemy techniques? May I ask, who in your alchemy sect is capable of teaching her? Tell me, why does she want to go to your alchemy sect? Mutant Chen was speechless and could not refute. Comparing money? Fu Wenzong was no less than the alchemy grandmaster. When it came to pill refining techniques, based on the little girl's performance, no one in the alchemy sect was her match. Most importantly, she possessed a rare amount of spiritual energy. Ask yourself, why did she want to go to the alchemy sect with me? At this moment, he suddenly understood one thing. It was not that she begged to join his alchemy sect, but his alchemy sect begged her to join. Yi Xian did not say anything more. He left with Xiaolinger. If joining the alchemy sect was beneficial to Xiaolinger, he did not mind letting Xiaolinger join. However, he was very clear that the alchemy sect did not have the ability to protect Xiaolinger. Moreover, if Xiaolinger joined the alchemy sect, it was very likely that she would be used. Although Xiaolinger was usually cunning, she would definitely not be able to play with these old guys. Therefore, he would not let Xiaolinger leave him. This time, Yi Xian did not give Mutant Chen any chance. He directly disappeared into the horizon on his sword. In the same place, Mutant Chen sighed softly. He, Fu Wenzong, really did not have any capital to ask a person who could refine summer pills to join the alchemy sect. If she came to the alchemy sect, what could the alchemy sect give her? They could not give her anything. Moreover, his idea just now was to ask Xiaolinger for advice on how to refine summer pills. Since he was begging her, he definitely had to pay something. After a moment of silence, Mutant Chen turned and left. The direction he left in was the direction of Fu Wenzong. This time, Yi Xian learned to be smart. He did not openly fly on his sword, but directly entered the realm of emptiness. Right now, it was better to keep a low profile. He did not want to be besieged again. Wu Country. The Wu Country was located in the martial world. This martial world was a world forcibly opened up by the king of the Wu Country. The reason why such a world was opened up was because the prophet suppressed the entire fifth dimension with an invincible posture. The king of the Wu Country immediately chose to hide from the world and avoid the sharp edge. After that, the Wu Country slowly disappeared from the eyes of the world. This time, Yi Xian's purpose was to rope in the Wu Country. The Devouring Spirit clan was asking for help. Naturally, he would also ask for help. About an hour later, Yi Xian arrived at the legendary entrance to the martial world. Yi Xian did not sneak in. This time, he was here to talk business, so he could not sneak in. As soon as Yi Xian revealed his true body, a powerful aura directly locked him. Yi Xian cupped his fists. Fu Wenzong, Yi Xian, is here to see the king of the Wu Country. After a moment, a young man suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The young man looked at Yi Xian and then said, "Follow me." Yi Xian nodded and followed the young man into the martial world. In the martial world, Yi Xian glanced around. This martial world was vast, rich in spiritual qi, and there were many experts. As soon as he entered, he felt many powerful auras. Very powerful. After a moment, the young man brought Yi Xian to the capital of the Wu Country. Yi Xian looked around. There were many people in the city. Of course, in this world where everyone practiced martial arts, these people were also martial artists. During this time, powerful auras swept over him from time to time. Soon, the young man brought Yi Xian to the Wu Country's imperial palace. However, when the young man brought him to a hall, he suddenly said, "Divine Master Yi, please wait a moment." After saying that, he turned around and entered the hall. Yi Xian looked around the imperial palace. This palace was not very big, but there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons. He could feel many hidden auras. Unfathomable. Whether it was the devouring spirit clan or the Wu country, they both gave him an unfathomable feeling. These ancient forces had a long history and deep heritage, and their strength was even more unfathomable. In the past, there were prophets who suppressed these ancient forces, but now, there was no one in the fifth dimension who could suppress these ancient forces. He could not be careless and underestimate the enemy. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from the side. Yi Xian turned his head and looked. He knew the person who came. It was Wu Xingnan. Wu Xingnan was still dressed in white armor, with a sheathed long blade on her back, looking valiant and heroic. Yi Xian smiled and said, "Miss Wu." Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. "Father is a little busy right now and can't see Divine Master Yi. If Divine Master Yi doesn't mind, how about I accompany you for a stroll?" Yi Xian smiled and said, "Of course I don't mind." Wu Xingnan nodded slightly. Just like that, with Wu Xingnan leading the way, the two slowly strolled around the imperial palace. The two walked side by side. Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "Divine Master Yi, why are you here?" Yi Xian said seriously, "Miss Wu, as far as I know, you seem to be working with the devouring spirit clan?" Wu Xingnan nodded, "Yes." Yi Xian said, "I'm a little curious. What kind of reward did the devouring spirit clan offer you?" Wu Xingnan said, "Some things that my Wu country needs right now, and some reasons that my Wu country can't refuse." Yi Xian asked, "What reasons?" Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian, "To not let the Azura Kingdom and the Worldwide Academy rise." Very straightforward. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Miss Wu, if I may ask, do you know the true strength of the devouring spirit clan?" Wu Xingnan shook her head, "I don't know." Yi Xian stopped and looked straight at Wu Xingnan. "Miss Wu, I'll be straightforward. The Wu country's current intention should be to prevent the Azura Kingdom and the Worldwide Academy from rising, but also not to let the devouring spirit clan dominate, right?" Wu Xingnan nodded. Yi Xian said, "In addition, if I'm not wrong, the Wu country also covets that study house, right?" Wu Xingnan said, "Yes. That study house is something that my Wu country must take." Yi Xian said with a smile, "Miss Wu, do you think the Worldwide Academy and I are a greater threat, or the devouring spirit clan?" Wu Xingnan said, "The devouring spirit clan." Saying this, she looked at Yi Xian. "The devouring spirit clan can give us what we want." Yi Xian said, "I can also give it to you. Don't you want the thing in the study house? I can give it to you." Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian, not saying anything. Yi Xian said seriously, "That study house is in the academy, and the key is in my hands. As long as we want, we can open that study house at any time." Wu Xingnan said, "You open it and give it to me. I promise you that the Wu country will no longer participate in this matter." Yi Xian said seriously, "Miss Wu, it's not very kind of you to say that. My idea is, your Wu country will stand on our side and help us open the study house. What do you think?" Wu Xingnan shook her head, "No." Yi Xian frowned, "Why?" Wu Xingnan said, "If we stand on your side and help you open the study house, my Wu country will be targeted by countless forces. If my Wu country stands on the side of the devouring spirit clan, it will be us and countless forces against you. My Wu country will only take one of them and they will give us face." Yi Xian was silent. He knew that if he wanted to persuade this Miss Wu, he had to use his ultimate skill. Bluff. He had to bluff. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. "Do you know why the devouring spirit clan wants to seize that study house?" Wu Xingnan asked, "Why?" Yi Xian said softly, "Because in that study house, there is a very, very important existence to the devouring spirit clan." Wu Xingnan frowned, "Don't beat around the bush, just say it." Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, do you know why the Devouring Spirit clans suddenly became so low-key? Because with their current strength, they cannot dominate the entire fifth dimension. However, if they open that study house, they can dominate the entire fifth dimension. At that time, let alone the ancient race, the headmaster, the Wu country, the evil spirit ancestor, they will all be useless in front of them. Speaking of this, his expression suddenly became solemn, because in that study house, the peerless powerhouse of the Devouring Spirit clan was suppressed. Let me tell you, when the prophet suppressed the Devouring Spirit clan, he did not kill the peerless powerhouse of the Devouring Spirit clan. Instead, he suppressed him in that study house. If they open that study house and awaken that peerless powerhouse, at that time, can you imagine, now that the prophet is no longer here, who in the world can suppress him? Hearing this, Wu Xingnan frowned even deeper. That person did not die. Yi Xian nodded. Yes, this matter was personally told to me by Xiao Ta, because he participated in that matter back then. Xiao Ta, Wu Xingnan looked straight at Yi Xian. What you said is true. Yi Xian said seriously, I can swear in the name of Xiao Ta, swear it. The small tower suddenly began to tremble. Chapter 928. Protest. Xiao Ta was protesting, but it was useless. In front of Yi Xian, Wu Xingnan just stared at him. Yi Xian's expression did not change. Miss Wu, what I said is not false. The reason why the Devouring Spirit clan is so eager to open that study room is because they want to unseal their ancestor. Once that expert is unsealed, the balance that the Wu country wants will be broken. At that time, if the Devouring Spirit clan wants your country to kneel and swear allegiance to them, will you agree? Or will you not agree? Wu Xingnan was silent. As Yi Xian said, the Wu country wanted benefits, but they did not want to fight with any of the forces. On the other hand, the Wu kingdom was able to act in such a way because the Devouring Spirit clan and Myriad Dimension Academy didn't want to offend them. However, if the Myriad Dimension Academy was annihilated and the Devouring Spirit clan really unsealed that ancestor of theirs, then the situation would be greatly different. At this time, Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, the Devouring Spirit clan's current strength is still a mystery. Why? Because they do not dare to expose too much, fearing that they will make you afraid. Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but if they open that study room and awaken that ancestor, the entire fifth dimension will have to surrender to their Devouring Spirit clan. At that time, the Wu country will find that they are much more terrifying than our Shura country and the Worldwide Academy. After all, Ling Air does not have the heart to dominate, and the Worldwide Academy is already half dead. They only want to protect themselves and do not have any great ambitions. But the Devouring Spirit clan is different. They are very ambitious, otherwise, they would not want to kill one of the 6 great experts from the beginning. Wu Xingnan said softly, what you said is half true and half false. Yi Xian, Wu Xingnan did not speak again. She slowly walked away. Yi Xian followed. He did not disturb Wu Xingnan. He knew that the woman in front of him was thinking. The reason why he said so much was because he knew that Wu Xingnan's position in the Wu country was not low. If he could persuade her, there was a great chance that he could persuade the Wu country. In this way, the two slowly walked away. A moment later, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, We've investigated you. Yi Xian smiled and said, Miss Wu, feel free to speak your mind. Wu Xingnan said, You are a very thick-skinned person. You are very good at deceiving people, and you like to use crafty plots and schemes. Yi Xian thought for a moment and said, Miss Wu, you can tell me about my strong points. Wu Xingnan said, I value friendship and righteousness, and I have my principles. I will not betray the people around me, and I will sacrifice myself for my friends and family. Yi Xian asked, I've never had an ally, have I? Wu Xingnan shook her head, no. Yi Xian stood in front of Wu Xingnan, Miss Wu, you're a direct person, and I'm also a direct person. Let's all be a bit more direct. Are you willing to ally with the Devouring Spirit clan or with me? Or could it be that you want to continue watching from the sidelines and reap the spoils? Wu Xingnan was silent. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan silently, waiting for her answer. After a moment, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "To convince the Wu country, you must convince them of what you just said." Yi Xian asked, "What is it?" Wu Xingnan said, "You tricked me into saying that the Devouring Spirit clan's ancestor is in the Myriad Dimensional Library." Yi Xian said with a straight face, "Miss Wu, Yi Xian, never lie. What I said just now is the truth." Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian and shook her head, "Your skin is unparalleled." Yi Xian, Wu Xingnan said, "To convince the Wu country, you must convince them that the Devouring Spirit clan's ancestor is imprisoned in the library. Only then will the elders of the Wu country stop the Devouring Spirit clan from opening the library, or at least not ally with them." Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Miss Wu, why are you so sure I'm lying?" Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian, intuition. Yi Xian was speechless. Wu Xingnan said softly, "Compared to the Devouring Spirit clan, I am more willing to ally with you. However, if I'm not wrong, even if the Wu country ally with you, they will not send any experts to help you." Yi Xian was silent. He knew what Wu Xingnan meant. Even if the Wu country allied with the Myriad Dimensions Academy, they would definitely not follow the Myriad Dimensions Academy to fight the Devouring Spirit clan to the death. The Wu country would definitely not help either side. They would not help the Myriad Dimensions Academy, nor the Devouring Spirit clan. At this time, neither the Worldwide Academy nor the Devouring Spirit clan would dare to cause trouble for the Wu country. Simply put, as long as the Wu country did not take action, they could maximize their benefits. For Yi Xian, as long as the Wu country did not help the Devouring Spirit clan, it was already a good ending. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan, "Miss Wu, how can I convince the elders of the Wu country that what I said is true?" Wu Xingnan opened her palm, "Let me see that pagoda." Yi Xian did not refuse. With a flick of his finger, Xiao Ta fell into Wu Xingnan's palm. Looking at the World Prison Pagoda in her hand, Wu Xingnan said softly, "I want to go in." Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before nodding. Then, he led Wu Xingnan into Xiao Ta. Inside the pagoda, Wu Xingnan looked around and finally came to the 9th floor. She looked at the door of the 9th floor and said softly, "Are you the person I am looking for?" A moment later, the 9th floor said, "The person you are looking for should be on the 10th floor." The 10th floor? Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian. Yi Xian frowned, "Senior, there are only 9 floors. Where are the other 3? The 9th floor said, "The entrance to the 10th floor is in my building. However, the current you does not have the ability to open it." Yi Xian asked in a deep voice, "What kind of strength do I need to open it?" The 9th floor said, "Dao Law. You must at least find the Dao Law of the 8th floor." Dao Law. After a moment of silence, Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan, "Miss Wu, is there someone you know in here?" Wu Xingnan nodded, "An ancestor of my Wu country." Yi Xian said, "I can't open the seal of the 10th floor for the time being." Wu Xingnan nodded, "It's fine. He has been locked up for so many years anyway. A little more time won't hurt." Yi Xian, a moment later, Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan left the World Prison Pagoda. Outside the World Prison Pagoda, Wu Xingnan walked into the distance, "Go back. Go back." Yi Xian was stunned for a moment before hurrying to Wu Xingnan's side. "I haven't seen your ruler yet." Wu Xingnan shook her head, "No need. I promise you, we won't help the Devouring Spirit tribe for the time being." Yi Xian glanced at Wu Xingnan. He knew that this woman's status in the Wu country was even higher than he imagined. Yi Xian collected his thoughts and was about to leave when Wu Xingnan suddenly said, "Are you interested in going to a secret realm?" Secret realm? Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan, "What secret realm?" Wu Xingnan said, "My Wu country discovered an unknown secret realm in the starry sky. There are many barriers and seals in that secret realm. My Wu country is afraid of destroying that secret realm, so we didn't dare to break through it." Saying so, she looked at Yi Xian, "As far as I know, there is a Dao law in your pagoda that is very good at sealing barriers, right?" Lian Qian. Yi Xian nodded, yes. Wu Xingnan said, you and I will explore that secret realm. I will take you there, and you will be responsible for breaking the barriers and seals. If there are treasures inside, it will depend on your own luck. What do you think? Yi Xian thought for a moment and then said, all right. Wu Xingnan nodded, wait a moment, I have something to take care of. Saying so, she turned and left. On the spot, Yi Xian said softly, Miss Lian Xian, tell me honestly, what is inside that study room? Everyone in the world was fighting over that study room, but very few people actually knew what was inside. Even Yi Xian didn't know. Lian Xian was silent for a moment, and then she said, there are many things left behind by Master in the study room. When Master was still alive, he liked to do research in the study room. Master was proficient in everything, including talismans, alchemy, equipment forging, and array formations. Besides that, he had a very deep understanding of martial arts. There are definitely some divine abilities and martial arts that he left behind in the study room. In addition, he also liked to create treasures and the like, so there are definitely many treasures inside. In short, the things inside are very precious, and anyone who obtains them can definitely change their fate. Prophet. Yi Xian said softly, why is he so monstrous? Lian Xian said, some people are born different from others. Yi Xian nodded, I agree with this, such as me. Lian Xian said, are you really planning to be shameless? Yi Xian's face was full of black lines, Miss Lian Xian, am I not good enough? Lian Xian said, in terms of shamelessness, I think no one in the entire fifth dimension can compare to you. Yi Xian, at this time, Wu Xingnan suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian, let's go. Saying so, she waved her hand, and a transmission array suddenly appeared in front of her. After the two entered the transmission array, they disappeared into thin air. After a quarter of an hour, the two appeared in a starry sky. Yi Xian glanced at the surrounding starry sky. The starry sky was deep and boundless, and he couldn't see the end of it. Moreover, there were some powerful auras around them. Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, this is? Wu Xingnan said, my Wu country's experts, they are secretly guarding for us to prevent any accidents. Accidents? Yi Xian asked, what accidents? Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian, danger. Saying so, she suddenly pointed her finger at the depths of the starry sky. With this point, the starry sky suddenly trembled, and soon, a black door appeared in the depths of the starry sky. On the black door, there was a deep mark, and from the looks of it, it was a bit like a sword mark. Yi Xian said, Miss Wu, what secret realm is this? Wu Xingnan shook her head, I don't know. It was discovered by my Wu country by chance. Yi Xian looked at the black door, and on the left side of the door, there was a line of words. Yi Xian carefully looked at it, and when he saw the line of words, he was slightly stunned. So arrogant? On the left side of the door, there was a carving, with a sword in hand, I am invincible, and I specialize in subduing those who refuse to submit. P.S. I will be honest, recently I went to the healthcare center because of the plot. You all know, some plots are very difficult to write without some social experience. In order to write more realistically and make everyone feel more immersed, I had to personally try it out. Chapter 929. Arrogant. That was what Yi Xian felt at this moment. Needless to say, the person who carved those words was truly arrogant. With a sword in hand, he was invincible, and he specialized in subduing those who refused to submit. How arrogant was that? Meanwhile, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, I wonder who carved those words. They're actually so heroic. Yi Xian nodded. He was quite curious about the person who carved those words. Meanwhile, Wu Xingnan said, there's a barrier on the way to this black door. It's very strong, and my Wu dynasty doesn't dare to break it. As she spoke, she looked at Yi Xian, you? Yi Xian nodded, all right. As soon as he finished speaking, he called out Lian Xian. After Lian Xian appeared, she sized up the surroundings, and it didn't take long for her expression to become solemn. Yi Xian asked, "What's wrong?" Lian Xian spoke softly, "This is a barrier set up by swords." Yi Xian was surprised, "A sword barrier?" Lian Xian nodded, "The person who set up this barrier has extremely high attainments in the sword Dao." Yi Xian asked, "Can you remove it?" Lian Xian replied, "I can. But I need your cooperation." Yi Xian said, "Feel free to instruct me." Lian Xian suddenly vanished on the spot, and when she appeared again, she was 300 m away. Meanwhile, rays of sword light suddenly appeared around her, and they crisscrossed like a net as they slashed towards Lian Xian. Yi Xian's expression changed drastically, and he was about to attack when Lian Xian shook her head and stopped Yi Xian. Yi Xian stopped and stared at Lian Xian. At this moment, Lian Xian suddenly started fiddling with her hands. The space around them suddenly trembled, and the sword lights in the surroundings suddenly dimmed at this moment. Yi Xian instantly heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. Wu Xingnan suddenly said, as expected of a Tao law created by the Prophet, "It really is amazing." Yi Xian smiled, "It really is amazing." Wu Xingnan shook her head. "It's just the beginning." Yi Xian was about to speak when Lian Xian spoke abruptly, "Lend me the executing heaven sword." Yi Xian flicked his finger, and the executing heaven sword flew in front of Lian Xian. Lian Xian grabbed the executing heaven sword with her right hand and thrust it forward. Chi! The space before her was directly torn apart. Right at this moment, numerous strands of sword chi suddenly appeared in the surroundings, and they instantly drowned Lian Xian. Yi Xian was shocked. He was just about to attack when the space Lian Xian resided in suddenly trembled violently. After that, the sword chi started to vanish bit by bit, and it wasn't long before all the sword chi had vanished into thin air. At this time, Lian Xian appeared in front of Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan. At this time, Lian Xian's face was abnormally pale. It was obvious that she had consumed a great deal of energy just now. Lian Xian handed the executing heaven sword to Yi Xian. "This place isn't simple. Be careful. I need to rest for a while." With that, she returned to the prison pagoda. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. "Let's go." Wu Xingnan nodded. The two of them arrived in front of the black door. Yi Xian sized up the black door, and then said, "Let's go." With that, he and Wu Xingnan directly entered the black door. Bang! As soon as the two of them entered, the surrounding starry sky immediately darkened. The surrounding martial country experts were directly jolted back several tens of thousands of zhang. In the starry sky, a shocked voice suddenly sounded. "The situation has changed. Inform the king." After an unknown amount of time, Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan appeared on top of a mountain peak. 100 zhang in front of them stood a black palace, and behind this palace, there were more than a dozen smaller palaces. This was a sect. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan beside him. The latter said softly, "I've lost contact with the martial country experts. Be careful." Yi Xian frowned slightly. "Lost contact?" Wu Xingnan nodded. She looked around and said, "Completely lost contact. This place is a bit strange." Yi Xian said seriously, "Is there an expert guarding this place, waiting for someone to come and possess it?" Wu Xingnan looked at Yi Xian. "You're quite imaginative." With that, she walked towards the palace in the distance. In the same place, Yi Xian shrugged and followed. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of the palace. Above the palace, there were 3 large words carved in black: "Invincible Sect." Invincible Sect? Seeing these 3 words, Yi Xian was momentarily speechless. So arrogant? Wu Xingnan said softly, "This sect is very special." Yi Xian nodded. "It is indeed very special. Miss Wu, do you know this invincible sect?" Wu Xingnan shook her head. "Never heard of it." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "So this sect is either very weak, or it has existed for a very long time, even before your martial country." Wu Xingnan looked towards the depths of the palace and said softly, "Be careful." Yi Xian nodded. "Let's go in and have a look." With that, he was about to walk in when his expression suddenly changed. In the next moment, he drew his sword and slashed. Bang! In an instant, Yi Xian retreated over 10 meters. After stopping, Yi Xian looked up at a man standing not too far away. The man wore a black embroidered robe, and his body was illusory. Obviously, this wasn't his real body, but a soul form. Moreover, his soul wasn't solid, so it was obviously an incomplete soul form. The man sized up Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan, and then he smiled. "I didn't expect that someone would really be able to come in. The two of you are quite capable to be able to break the barrier outside." Wu Xingnan placed her left hand on the hilt of the saber behind her, and she was ready to attack. The man in the embroidered robe glanced at Wu Xingnan, and then he smiled. "Do you want to fight?" Wu Xingnan said, "I'm considering." The man in the embroidered robe laughed, and then he said, "If the two of you want to enter this door, then you have to pass through me first. Do the two of you want to come one by one, or do you want to come at me together?" "Forget it, both of you can come at me together." Yi Xian suddenly said, "May I know your distinguished self's name?" The man in the embroidered robe smiled. "Yan Wu." "Yan Wu." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Your distinguished self, is there an inheritance behind this door?" "Inheritance?" Yan Wu laughed, and then he said, "You're quite a direct person. You'll naturally know what's behind it once you pass through me. If you can't, then everything will be for naught." Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. "You?" Wu Xingnan asked, "You?" Yi Xian shook his head. "If I did it, then it would be too simple and meaningless." "Too simple?" Yan Wu suddenly roared with laughter. "Young man, you aren't just an ordinary kind of arrogance. Come, I want to fight you." Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu. "Senior, are you sure?" Yan Wu smiled. "I'm sure." Yi Xian thought for a moment, and then he said, "How about this, senior, let's make a bet. Bet whether or not I can defeat you with a single sword strike." Yan Wu sized up Yi Xian and said with a smile, "Defeat me with a single sword strike? Are you sure?" Yi Xian nodded. "Yes." Yan Wu laughed. "All right, no problem. What's the bet?" Yi Xian said, "If senior loses, then today, senior has to answer truthfully no matter what I ask. Senior can't conceal anything. If I lose, then I'll be at senior's disposal. How about it?" Yan Wu smiled. "At my disposal? Are you sure?" Yi Xian nodded. "I'm sure." Yan Wu said, "All right, I agree." As he spoke, he smiled. "Come, make your move." Yi Xian said, "Senior, can I use any treasures?" Yan Wu smiled. "As you wish." Yi Xian nodded slightly. Then he opened his palm, and the soul-suppressing sword appeared in his hand. The moment the soul-suppressing sword appeared, the smile on Yan Wu's face suddenly froze. Soul-suppressing sword. Heaven restrains the soul. When he saw the soul-suppressing sword, Yan Wu gave Yi Xian a thumbs up. "Young man, you're good." Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. "So sneaky." Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu and said with a smile, "Senior, do you still want to fight?" Yan Wu shook his head. "I can take one sword strike from you, but the price is too high. I still have to live for a while, so I lose." Yi Xian bowed slightly to Yan Wu. Junior took advantage of the opportunity. Yan Wu smiled. "Wisdom is also a kind of strength. Speak, what do you want to know?" Yi Xian said, "What kind of sect is this invincible sect?" Yan Wu asked, "What era is it now?" "What era?" Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. Wu Xingnan pondered for a moment, then said, "Do you know about prophets?" Yan Wu shook his head. "I've never heard of it." Wu Xingnan said, then your era should be very, very far away from us. Yan Wu said softly, I never thought that so many years had passed. Wu Xingnan said, currently, the earliest known history of my Wu country is the Cretaceous era. That is an unknown era. The reason why we know about that era is because of some fragmented information left behind in secret realms. However, we have no way of finding out what kind of era it was. As she spoke, she looked at Yan Wu. Are you from that era? Yan Wu shook his head. I'm not from that era. However, I know about that era because someone from my generation personally witnessed the destruction of that era. The destruction of an era? Yi Xian frowned. The destruction of an era? Was it man-made or a natural disaster? Yan Wu looked at Yi Xian. The fifth dimension calamity. The fifth dimension calamity. Yi Xian was stunned. Yan Wu frowned. You know about the fifth dimension calamity? Yi Xian nodded. He still remembered that the blue-robed swordsman had told him about the fifth dimension calamity. However, he didn't care about it at the time. He never thought that he would hear about it here. Yan Wu said in a deep voice, how do you know about the fifth dimension calamity? Yi Xian said, a senior told me about it. Yan Wu looked deeply at Yi Xian. That senior of yours is not an ordinary person. Yi Xian nodded. He is indeed not an ordinary person. Senior, what is this fifth dimension calamity? Yan Wu said in a soft voice, a catastrophe. Under that catastrophe, countless creatures of the Cretaceous era were destroyed. There were only a few who survived, and those who survived were very weak. They didn't live for long before they died. Yi Xian frowned. Those who survived were very weak. What do you mean? Yan Wu said, in the fifth dimension calamity, the stronger one is, the faster they die. On the contrary, the weaker one is, the more likely they are to survive. Yi Xian was about to speak when Lian Xian suddenly appeared beside Yi Xian. She said in a deep voice, I heard Master mention this fifth dimension calamity. Yi Xian looked at Lian Xian. Lian Xian said, when I was chatting with Master, he casually mentioned this calamity. He also said that he needed to find some helpers. Chapter 930. Find a few helpers? Yi Xian looked at Lian Xian. Miss Lian Xian, your teacher said he wanted to find helpers? Lian Xian nodded. Yes. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, what else did he say? Lian Xian shook her head. He just mentioned it casually, and we didn't ask much. So, I don't know much. However, now that I think about it, Master's expression was a bit serious. It seems that the fifth dimension tribulation isn't simple. Not simple? To the side, Yan Wu shook his head and smiled. It's more than simple. You guys haven't experienced that kind of catastrophe, so you don't know how terrifying it is. Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu. Senior, where did this catastrophe come from? Yan Wu shook his head. I don't know. Yi Xian frowned. Senior doesn't know either? Yan Wu said in a soft voice, after the Chalk Age, it has already been hundreds of thousands of years. At that time, there were basically no survivors from the Chalk Age. So, we don't know where the fifth dimension tribulation came from or how it disappeared. We only know that when the catastrophe came, an era was erased. Speaking up to here, he looked at Lian Xian. This catastrophe, it is said, appears once every 1,000,000 years. I calculated that it has been almost 1,000,000 years since the last fifth dimension tribulation. Yi Xian's face was full of black lines. It can't be so coincidental, right? Yan Wu smiled. Maybe it is. But, what are you worried about? With your strength, you are still not considered to be at the peak of this world. Therefore, you still have a chance to live. As for those top experts, that is, those super experts, they will die faster. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, why? Yan Wu shook his head. I don't know. I only know that the stronger you are, the faster you die. In that era, there were many experts. Some of them even reached the undying realm, but they still died. Yi Xian said, Senior, may I ask, did your sect also experience the fifth dimension tribulation? Yan Wu was silent. Yi Xian was about to ask again when Yan Wu suddenly said, the extermination of the Invincible sect has nothing to do with the fifth dimension tribulation. In that era, the Invincible sect was invincible. The sect leader Chen Dugu's strength had even reached the legendary half-step undying realm. His strength was almost invincible at that time. However, for some unknown reason, a mysterious expert came to the Invincible sect one day. It was this mysterious expert who destroyed the entire Invincible sect. Even the sect leader, Chen Dugu, had fallen on that day. A powerful sect was destroyed in a day. A mysterious expert. Yi Xian knew that this was the main point. He immediately asked, what expert? Yan Wu shook his head, I don't know. Yi Xian asked, Senior, were the words on the black door left behind by that mysterious expert? Hearing this, Yan Wu's expression became serious. No, it was left behind by a swordsman who came here many years ago. Yi Xian quickly asked, what kind of swordsman? Yan Wu said in a deep voice, wearing a cloud-white robe. Yi Xian whispered, it's him. Yan Wu looked at Yi Xian. You know him? Wu Xingnan also looked at Yi Xian. This guy is a bit mysterious. Yi Xian firmly said, I know him. He knew that the swordsman wearing the cloud-white robe was the master of one of the swords on the top of the pagoda. In the four-dimensional universe, the other party's doppelganger had helped him once. Yan Wu looked at Yi Xian. Are you sure you know him? Obviously, he didn't believe him. Yi Xian smiled. What, you don't believe me? How about we make a bet? Yan Wu's eyes twitched. You like to cheat people that much? Yi Xian smiled. It's just a joke. Actually, to tell you the truth, the swordsman that Senior mentioned is my sworn brother. I am his brother. Everyone, Yi Xian looked at the three people. You don't believe me? Yan Wu said, you're talking nonsense. I see that you're only in your 20s, while that swordsman came here tens of thousands of years ago. Your brother? How can you be so good at talking nonsense? Wu Xingnan also shook her head. This Yi Xian really can talk nonsense. At this time, Yi Xian opened his palm. A sword appeared in his hand. This sword was the sword of the swordsman wearing the cloud-white robe. When she saw this sword, Wu Xingnan's expression instantly became dignified. Common sword. Common sword. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. Didn't Miss Wu also reach the common saber realm? Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian. The mortal realm is divided into 6 layers. These 6 layers represent the 6 states of mind of the mortal realm. After the 6 layers is the true mortal realm. Your sword is the true mortal realm, while my saber is only at the first layer of the mortal realm. Strictly speaking, it can only be regarded as a pseudo-mortal. Pseudo-mortal. Yi Xian understood. There should be a big gap between Wu Xingnan's saber and the 3 swords at the top of the tower. At this time, Yan Wu suddenly said, this sword of yours has his aura. Yi Xian looked at Yan Wu and smiled. This sword was given to me by my big brother. Do you believe me now? Yan Wu glanced at Yi Xian and didn't say anything. At this time, Wu Xingnan suddenly said, if he was your big brother, why didn't you let him destroy the devouring spirit clan? Yi Xian lightly said, my big brother is busy. Wu Xingnan asked, busy with what? Yi Xian blinked and then said, busy looking for a powerhouse. Let me tell you, he doesn't care about the devouring spirit clan at all. He is looking for a real powerhouse. Wu Xingnan was about to speak when Yan Wu suddenly said, that's what he said at that time. Yi Xian, Wu Xingnan didn't say anything. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, Senior, what did my big brother come here for? Yan Wu softly said, he said he sensed a powerful aura here. Yi Xian asked, invincible sect sovereign? Yan Wu shook his head. It's the aura left behind by that mysterious powerhouse. Mysterious powerhouse. Yi Xian asked again, did my big brother say anything in the end? Yan Wu thought for a moment and then said, he seems to have gone to find that mysterious powerhouse. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, Senior, that mysterious powerhouse won't harm him, right? Yan Wu softly said, that kind of powerhouse, even if he can't live forever, I'm afraid it won't be a problem for him to live for hundreds of thousands of years. Of course, there shouldn't be many people like that since ancient times. As he said that, he looked at Yi Xian. I didn't notice it earlier, but now I suddenly realized that you have a lot of karma on your body. However, this is not my body, so I can't feel too much. Karma. Yi Xian was silent. This was no longer a matter of one person talking about his karma. Did he have a lot of karma? He didn't know. He only knew that from the time he was born until now, the things that happened to him were indeed somewhat abnormal, including the appearance of the plain-dressed woman and Xiao Ta. Yi Xian shook his head, no longer thinking about these messy things. He looked at Yan Wu. Senior, does this invincible sect have an inheritance? Yan Wu laughed. You're really direct. Yi Xian said with a smile, that's why we are here. Yan Wu said, follow me. After saying that, he turned and walked into the hall. Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan hurriedly followed. Before long, Yan Wu brought Yi Xian and Wu Xingnan into the main hall. The main hall was very big, but it was empty. Yan Wu was about to speak when he suddenly turned around. In the square outside the main hall, the space there suddenly trembled. Soon, a man and a woman appeared in front of the three of them. Yan Wu laughed. Today is interesting, there are actually 2 more people here. In the distance, the man looked at Yan Wu and the others. Soon, his gaze landed on Wu Xingnan. Wu Xingnan. Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan, but she shook her head. I don't know you. The man smiled. Miss Wu, I am Arrow Lian of the primordial race, and this person beside me is Xia Qing, of the evil spirit race. Primordial race. Evil spirit race. Yi Xian looked at the 2 of them. Apart from the outsiders, all the super forces had come. Wu Xingnan nodded slightly, not saying anything else. Arrow looked at Yi Xian, smiled, and said, this must be Fu Wenzong's divine teacher Yi. Yi Xian nodded, that's me. Arrow smiled, I have long heard of divine teacher Ye's great name. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation. Yi Xian smiled, Brother Arrow, you are here for the treasures, right? Arrow nodded, I want to try my luck. At that moment, Yan Wu suddenly said, everyone has a chance. Everyone looked at Yan Wu. Yan Wu turned and looked in front of him. He opened his palm, and soon, the space in front of him split open. Yan Wu said softly, everyone, the invincible sect's inheritance is inside. Go in. As for what you can obtain, that will depend on your luck. As he spoke, he looked at Yi Xian and the others. Who wants to go first? Arrow smiled without saying anything, and the Xia Qing, beside him, remained silent. Seeing that the 2 of them didn't move, Yi Xian looked at Wu Xingnan. Let's go first. Wu Xingnan nodded, and soon, the 2 of them entered the spatial rift. As soon as the 2 of them entered, Xia Ling, flew in as well. In the field, Yan Wu looked at Arrow. Aren't you going in? Arrow smiled. Of course I'm going in. With that, he flew in. Yan Wu shook his head and smiled. Greed. With that, he waved his right hand, and the space was sealed. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Xian suddenly felt himself stop, and his surroundings were pitch black. Yi Xian said, Miss Lian Xian, what is this place? Lian Xian said, walk forward. Yi Xian nodded, and he walked forward. Soon, he arrived in front of a door, and entered. Behind the door was a secret room. In the secret room, there was a portrait of a middle-aged man. Yi Xian looked at the portrait, and then respectfully bowed. Greetings, Senior. No response. Yi Xian hesitated, and then said, Senior, if you have an inheritance, you can consider me. Really, to speak immodestly, in the fifth dimension, I am known as the number one of the younger generation. If Senior gives me your inheritance, I will definitely carry forward Senior's knowledge. Still no response. Yi Xian was about to speak again, but at this time, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. A soul body. This was a complete soul. The middle-aged man looked at Yi Xian, and said with a smile, Your body is very good. I like it very much. Yi Xian said in a deep voice, Senior, are you going to take over my body? The corners of the middle-aged man's mouth rose slightly, yes. Is it unexpected? Is it a surprise? Yi Xian was silent. P.S. I'm too ashamed to ask for votes, so I'll give everyone a monthly vote red packet. If you vote, you can grab a red packet. Everyone, remember to grab it. Chapter 931. Possession. Yi Xian did not expect to encounter such a thing again. Yi Xian looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. Is this a trap? The middle-aged man smiled, smart. To tell you the truth, we were all lucky to survive that day. However, our bodies were destroyed, and only our souls exist. Our goal is simple, to be reborn through possession. Yi Xian shook his head, I don't understand. Why did you wait until now to be reborn through possession? The middle-aged man chuckled, because although we survived, our souls were extremely weak. During these long years, we have been nurturing our souls. Although we waited for so long, fortunately, the ending is good. Your body is very good, just right for me. Yi Xian suddenly asked, How many souls did you, Fu Wenzong, survive? The middle-aged man smiled, about 30 people. 30 people. In other words, there were 30 souls. Yi Xian nodded, understood. The middle-aged man smiled, You are very calm. Your temperament is not bad. Yi Xian looked at the middle-aged man, Senior, are you sure you want to possess me? The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes, Why, do you want to say that you still have a trump card? Yi Xian smiled, and in the next moment, he waved his right hand, and the soul-suppressing sword flew out. The moment he saw the soul-suppressing sword, the middle-aged man's expression instantly changed. This sword, as he spoke, he directly punched out, and a powerful soul force surged towards the soul-suppressing sword like a wave. However, the soul force was directly absorbed as soon as it came into contact with the soul-suppressing sword. Seeing this scene, the middle-aged man was shocked, and he hurriedly said, Young friend, this is a misunderstanding, I did not, Qi. The soul-suppressing sword suddenly accelerated, and directly pierced the middle-aged man's eyebrows. In an instant, the middle-aged man was directly absorbed by the soul-suppressing sword. Boom! As soon as it was absorbed, a powerful soul force directly erupted from the soul-suppressing sword. Yi Xian looked at the soul-suppressing sword and was shocked. Actually, the current soul-suppressing sword was no longer weaker than the executing heaven sword, but in terms of sharpness, the soul-suppressing sword was still inferior to the executing heaven sword, but in terms of restraining the soul, the executing heaven sword was also inferior to the soul-suppressing sword. One sword targeted the physical body, and the other targeted the soul. Just then, Soul's excited voice rang out in Yi Xian's mind. Young master, it's a great tonic. Yi Xian laughed. Soul, will you make another breakthrough? Little Soul said, Yes. If I devour more of these souls, I can become even more powerful. I'm already very, very powerful. Yi Xian laughed and said, I know, you are very, very powerful now. This wasn't a lie. With Soul's current ability, other than the souls of top-notch experts, ordinary souls couldn't even fight back against her. At this time, Little Soul suddenly said, Young master, if you fight against enemies in the future, you can use me. If his soul isn't strong enough, I can force his soul out of his body and kill him with a single slash. Yi Xian was a little surprised. Is that possible? Soul said, absolutely. Just like that girl from before, the one with the saber, her soul isn't particularly strong. If I directly use me, I'm very confident that I can force her soul out of her body. However, that girl is also very strong, so I can't guarantee that I can kill her. But if I devour a few more of these powerful souls and advance again, hee hee. Wu Xingnan. Yi Xian was silent. He understood Wu Xingnan's strength, and he had to admit that she was really strong. Although he had the soul-suppressing sword and the executing heaven sword, she definitely had a trump card. After all, the martial kingdom was one of the most ancient forces in the world, so there would definitely be no lack of treasures. Therefore, it would be very difficult to kill Wu Xingnan. However, if the soul-suppressing sword continued to improve like this, it would also be very terrifying. Not to mention anything else, if Wu Xingnan really only had a soul body left, he was very confident that he could kill her. The soul-suppressing sword was too good at restraining souls. As if he had thought of something, Yi Xian suddenly frowned. This Wu Xingnan is probably in danger as well. He tried to contact Wu Xingnan, but he couldn't. There seemed to be a mysterious force sealing off the surroundings. Yi Xian thought about it and then shook his head. This Wu Xingnan's strength wasn't weaker than his, so she shouldn't be in danger. Yi Xian glanced around, then grasped the soul-suppressing sword, and then the space Dao appeared between his brows. A moment later, he vanished on the spot. Not long after, he arrived at another secret room. The secret room was empty, and there was nothing in it. Yi Xian looked around, then bowed respectfully to the person in front of him. Junior greets senior. There was no response. Yi Xian thought about it, then turned around to leave. Suddenly, the space in front of him trembled, and soon, an old man appeared in front of him. It was also a soul body. The old man wore a black robe, had a long beard, and had a kind face. He seemed like a good person. When he saw this old man, Yi Xian was instantly excited, and he bowed respectfully again. Greetings, senior. The old man sized up Yi Xian, then nodded slightly, and his eyes were filled with praise. Very good, very good. You're very outstanding. Yi Xian smiled. It's good that senior likes it. The old man stroked his beard lightly, and smiled. The old man is very satisfied. You're the one. Yi Xian said with a serious expression. Thank you, senior. The old man waved at Yi Xian. Come, the old man will pass down everything he's learned to you. Yi Xian had an excited expression, and he walked over to the old man. A trace of pity flashed in the old man's eyes, and he placed his right hand on Yi Xian's shoulder. In the next moment, he transformed into a black ray of light that entered between Yi Xian's brows. Possession. Yi Xian said in shock, Senior, what are you doing? The old man laughed and said, What am I doing? Young man, I see that your strength is not bad, and your body is ridiculously strong. Why are you so stupid? Old man, I'm going to possess you. Do you understand? Yi Xian was expressionless. I see that you're an old monster who has cultivated for countless years. How can you be so stupid? Or are you cultivating in the opposite direction? The more you cultivate, the lower your IQ? The old man said solemnly, What do you mean? Yi Xian shook his head, and did not speak again. Very quickly, the old man's mournful scream sounded in his mind. With the soul-subduing sword and the world prison pagoda possessing him? What kind of joke was this? In Yi Xian's mind, the old man said in shock, what pagoda is this, and this sword, you? A moment later, the black-robed old man's voice gradually disappeared. Yi Xian did not let the world prison pagoda kill the old man because it would be too wasteful. Instead, he let the soul-suppressing sword absorb him. Next, Yi Xian came to the third secret room. Just like this, after about 4 hours, Yi Xian had already absorbed the souls of 6 super experts, and at this moment, the soul-suppressing sword's aura had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Yi Xian knew that the soul-suppressing sword was about to advance. Yi Xian was about to bring the soul-suppressing sword to the next secret room, but at this time, the soul-suppressing sword suddenly said, "Young master, let me digest first." Yi Xian, just like this, after about an hour, the soul-suppressing sword had completely absorbed the souls it had devoured before, and at this moment, its aura had already reached an extremely terrifying level. Little Soul suddenly said excitedly, "Young master, one more powerful soul and I'll break through." Still missing one. Yi Xian nodded, and he disappeared on the spot with Little Soul. In fact, if he did not have the Space Dao Law, it would still be difficult for him to leave this secret room at will, because this was an independent space, and there was also a seal. Soon, Yi Xian brought Little Soul to another secret room. When he arrived at this secret room, Yi Xian was immediately stunned. Because this secret room was different from the other secret rooms, it was not a secret room, but a large hall, and the hall was surrounded by all kinds of strange runes. Runes. Yi Xian took a closer look at the runes, and soon, he frowned. This is a sealing rune formation. He looked in front of him, where a pitch-black coffin was placed. The coffin was also covered with runes, and these runes were all blood-red, as if they were drawn with blood. Yi Xian took a look at the blood-red talismans. Gradually, his expression became extremely grave because he discovered that these talismans were used to nurture souls. Moreover, these talismans were of a very high grade. The lowest grade was a 7-colored talisman. Yi Xian looked at the black coffin, and he was a little surprised. Who was inside? At this moment, Lian Xian's voice suddenly sounded in Yi Xian's mind, "Be careful, this place is a bit strange." Yi Xian nodded, and he glanced around. This place was different from the previous ones, and the person inside this coffin was definitely a big shot. At this moment, Lian Xian suddenly asked, "Do you want to open this coffin?" Yi Xian looked at the black coffin, and after a moment of silence, he shook his head. No. As a person, one should not be too greedy. Although he had the soul-suppressing sword, it did not mean that he could suppress all souls, and at this moment, he had a very unyielding feeling in this place. Danger. This was the feeling of danger. Without any hesitation, Yi Xian turned around to leave, but the moment he activated the Space Dao Law, a mysterious force suddenly enveloped the surroundings. Yi Xian's expression changed drastically, and he frantically activated the Space Dao Law, but the surrounding space became increasingly solid. Alarmed, Yi Xian hurriedly asked, "Miss Lian Xian, do you have a way?" After a moment, Lian Xian said solemnly, "There's no way. I have to seal this pagoda, so be careful." Seal Xiao Ta? Yi Xian was stunned. What the hell? At this moment, he had completely lost contact with Xiao Ta, and Xiao Ta was directly sealed, unable to sense the outside world. Yi Xian's expression was solemn. He knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. Yi Xian tried hard to calm himself down, and he turned to look at the black coffin not far away. At this moment, the black coffin suddenly trembled, and the runes on the coffin suddenly dimmed. Yi Xian's expression was calm. It was not going to let him go. At this moment, the coffin's lid suddenly opened, and the next moment, a jade-white hand reached out. Then, under Yi Xian's gaze, a woman climbed out of the coffin. Beautiful. This was Yi Xian's first thought. He could not describe this woman with any words, and he could only say that this was a woman who could make countless men go crazy. Of course, the most important thing was that this woman was naked, and even a certain part of her body was clean, without a single hair. Chapter 932. In the secret chamber, Yi Xian was silent. Could it be that he had some luck with women recently? He had to admit that the woman in front of him was really beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow, without a single blemish. Especially her eyes, which were so big that they seemed to speak. In all fairness, Yi Xian felt that many girls were even more beautiful without clothes. Although the woman in front of him had peerless beauty, he was not in the mood to admire her. Because just as the woman was about to appear, the world prison pagoda was sealed. He had rarely encountered such a situation. Most importantly, the woman in front of him was not a soul body. If this person was from the invincible sex era, how long had she lived? Yi Xian did not dare to think about it. After the woman walked out, she glanced around. There was a hint of confusion in her eyes. After a while, she seemed to recall something, and her eyes gradually became clear. In the end, she looked at Yi Xian, who was not far away from her. She sized him up. In the end, she waved her right hand, and the two swords suddenly flew in front of her. Soul-suppressing sword and executing heaven's sword. After the woman sized up the two swords, she shook her head. Trash. Yi Xian's expression froze. Trash? Executing heaven's sword and soul-suppressing sword were trash. This was the first time he had heard someone say that. The woman looked at Yi Xian, and after sizing up Yi Xian, she shook her head. Weak. Yi Xian opened his palm, and a robe appeared in his hand. He handed it to the woman. Miss, you should put on your clothes first. The woman looked at Yi Xian. It's just skin. Yi Xian was speechless. This woman was really open-minded. Yi Xian said, I don't think this is skin, this is dignity. The woman suddenly pointed with a finger, and Yi Xian's clothes instantly turned to ashes. The woman looked at Yi Xian. Have you lost your dignity now? Yi Xian hesitated, then shook his head. I have nothing to say. At this moment, the woman's gaze suddenly fell on a certain part of Yi Xian's lower body. Yi Xian hurriedly covered his mouth with his hands. He was shocked. What was this woman trying to do? The woman suddenly shook her head. Ugly as expected. What's the point of keeping someone so ugly? How about I get rid of it for you? Yi Xian was shocked and quickly said, You can't do that. This is the root of a man. If I remove it, what kind of man would I be? The woman looked at Yi Xian. Do you know why you're weak? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before he said, I'm young. The woman shook her head. When I was your age, I was already invincible. Do you know why? Yi Xian glanced at the woman. Why? The woman replied, Because I have no desire. Yi Xian furrowed his brows. Will you become very strong if you don't have desires? The woman said, No desire, no thought, see the essence, return to nature. Yi Xian was speechless. The woman suddenly said, Fine. I won't force you. As she spoke, she walked over to Yi Xian. She just looked at Yi Xian without saying a word. Yi Xian's scalp went numb from her gaze. Senior, what are you going to do? The woman looked at Yi Xian. Help me put on my clothes. Yi Xian's mind was in a mess. She wants me to help her put on her clothes? What's going on? Meanwhile, the woman suddenly asked, Could it be that you want me to do it myself? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment before he said, Isn't that slightly inconvenient? The woman's brows knit together slightly. What? You're unwilling? The temperature in the surroundings suddenly dropped, and it was like he was in an ice house. Yi Xian was shocked. She's angry. He hurriedly said, All right. As soon as he finished speaking, he started to help her put on her clothes. Needless to say, the woman's skin was really good, and her figure was excellent as well. She was big in the places that needed to be big, and small in the places that needed to be small. Perfect. That was Yi Xian's evaluation of the woman. However, at this moment, he did not dare to have any devious thoughts. This woman was too strong. He did not want to court death. After a while, the woman finished putting on her clothes, and Yi Xian retreated to the side. The woman looked at Yi Xian from head to toe. She waved her hand lightly, and in an instant, lines appeared around Yi Xian's body. These lines were very strange. They seemed to exist, but at the same time, they were not. The woman said softly, Karmic lines. Yi Xian did not understand. Karmic lines? The woman looked at Yi Xian. You give me a sense of familiarity, and I even feel a sense of closeness. I actually don't have any thoughts of killing you. How strange. Killing him. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched. This woman's thoughts were very dangerous. She was saying that he felt a sense of closeness. What did that mean? The woman looked around. Invincible sect. Yi Xian said, Senior, are you from the Invincible sect? The woman shook her head. No. Yi Xian was about to speak when the woman suddenly said, but, I was the one who destroyed the Invincible sect. Hearing this, Yi Xian was shocked. Senior, you are that mysterious person. Mysterious person? The woman looked at Yi Xian. What mysterious person? Yi Xian shook his head. At that moment, his heart was like a tsunami. Previously, Yan Wu had told him that the Invincible sect was destroyed by a mysterious person. But he did not expect that the woman in front of him was that mysterious person. But why was this woman here? Yi Xian collected his thoughts and looked at the woman. Senior, why did you destroy the Invincible sect? The woman said nonchalantly, I don't like the name of their sect. Yi Xian's throat rolled. That's it? The woman looked at Yi Xian. Isn't that reason enough? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment. You destroyed their entire sect just because of this? That's a little cruel. The woman retorted, shouldn't it be destroyed? Yi Xian, the woman looked at Yi Xian. Have you eaten pork before? Yi Xian nodded. Yes. The woman asked, just because you like to eat pork, you killed pigs? Don't you think that you're very cruel? Yi Xian said in a low voice, that's a pig. The woman asked again, the reason pigs are eaten by humans is because they are weak. They can't fight against humans. Don't talk about cruelty. Humans are the cruelest creatures in the world. Yi Xian was speechless. The woman continued, one day, humans will also become pigs in the eyes of other living beings. Tendo has reincarnation. Who will the heavens spare? The final outcome for humans is to seek their own destruction. Yi Xian said in a low voice, Senior, aren't you human too? The woman asked, did I tell you that I'm human? Yi Xian was astonished. You're not human? The woman blinked. I'm not human. Yi Xian said in a low voice, then what kind of creature are you, Senior? The woman thought for a moment and said, I don't belong to any of the creatures that you know of. Yi Xian was slightly puzzled. What do you mean? The woman didn't answer. She glanced at the surroundings, and then she took out a glowing jade disc. The jade disc started to spin rapidly. A short while later, the corners of the woman's mouth curled up slightly. There's still 10 years until the calamity. As she spoke, she turned to look at Yi Xian and said excitedly, in 10 years, all humans will die. Yi Xian, the woman smiled again. I've been in deep sleep for so many years. That day can finally come. Yi Xian said in a low voice, Senior, why do you want humans to be destroyed? The woman gazed at Yi Xian. Since I was born, my duty has been to destroy humans. Yi Xian frowned slightly. Why is that? The woman smiled. In the beginning, I didn't really understand my duty. But after I lived with humans for some time, I realized that humans are really cruel, selfish, have boundless desires, and plunder without restraint. In short, I hate humans. Yi Xian said in a low voice, you don't hate me? The woman blinked. I don't think so. You give me a familiar feeling, and I can't bring myself to hate you. You're the second human that I don't hate. Yi Xian asked, why? Also, who's the first? The woman said, I don't know about the first. I can't tell you about the second. Yi Xian fell silent. He had to admit that this woman was quite mysterious. Yi Xian gazed at the woman. What's your name, Senior? The woman replied, Number 9. Yi Xian frowned slightly. Number 9? You're called Number 9? The woman nodded. Yes. Number 9. Yi Xian had a slightly strange expression on his face. What sort of name is that? Meanwhile, number 9 suddenly waved his right hand lightly. In an instant, the space in the surroundings started to shatter into pieces. Yi Xian was shocked, and he hurriedly said, "Senior, what are you doing?" Number 9 said, "I'm leaving." Yi Xian intended to say something else, but the space here had shattered completely. When he appeared once more, he was already in front of the hall that he'd come from. The drill ground wasn't too far away from Yi Xian. The drill ground frowned slightly when he saw Yi Xian. "You." Right at this moment, number 9 suddenly waved his right hand, and the drill ground's soul transformed into a strand of green smoke that vanished completely. His soul was obliterated. Yi Xian turned to look at number 9. Number 9 said, "I don't want to see a human." Yi Xian was speechless. Suddenly, the space in the distance started to tremble, and then a woman suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. It was Wu Xingnan. Meanwhile, number 9 was about to attack, but Yi Xian reacted swiftly and held her in his arms. "Miss Number 9, calm down. Calm down." Number 9 blinked, and then she gazed at Yi Xian. "You know her?" Yi Xian nodded. "Yes, she's my friend. We're on the same side." Number 9 said, "Make her vanish from my sight in 3 breaths of time. Otherwise, I'll kill her." Yi Xian's face darkened. "Can't you just not kill her?" Number 9 shook her head. "I must kill any human I see." Yi Xian frowned slightly. "Why?" Number 9 said, "Because that's how I've been programmed." Yi Xian was just about to speak when number 9 suddenly looked at Wu Xingnan. In the next moment, she was about to attack. Yi Xian was shocked, and he hurriedly grabbed number 9 and rolled to the side. Just like that, the two of them rolled to the ground. Yi Xian hurriedly said, "Miss Wu, hurry up and run." Wu Xingnan glanced at Yi Xian and number 9 on the ground, and then she didn't hesitate to turn around and vanish into the horizon. Because in that instant just now, she'd sensed the aura of death. On the ground, number 9 gazed at Yi Xian. "Why don't I want to kill you?" Yi Xian blushed with shame. What a question. Yi Xian thought for a moment, and then he said, "Senior, do you want to kill someone?" Number 9 shrugged. "I'll kill anyone I see." Yi Xian said seriously, "Senior, I'll take you to a place. There are many people there, so feel free to kill them." Number 9 nodded. "All right." Yi Xian was overjoyed. He took number 9's hand and said, "Let's go. I'll take you to kill someone." On the way, Yi Xian roared with laughter in his heart. "Devouring Spirit Clan, tremble before me." P.S. It said that the readers are amazing. Come, guess the true identity of this number 9. I want to see if any of the readers can guess it correctly. If so, I'll give you a gift exclusive to a character from the Sword domain. Chapter 933. When Yi Xian learned that number 9 wanted to kill people, the first thing he thought of was the Devouring Spirit Clan. He didn't know how strong number 9 was, but he knew that she was definitely not weaker than Yi Ling and the others, and might even be stronger. This was his intuition. She was an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands of years. The only bad thing about her was that she wanted to kill anyone she saw. What kind of creature was she? There was no answer, because number 9 didn't want to tell him. On the way, number 9 suddenly said, "Do you like killing people too?" Killing people. Yi Xian thought for a moment, and then said, "Sometimes." Number 9 said with a smile, "We have the same ideal." Yi Xian hesitated for a moment, and then said, "In this world, some people do deserve to die, but not everyone." Number 9 shook her head. "When you eat pork, do you think it's a good pig or a bad pig?" Yi Xian was speechless. In fact, he was a bit disgusted with number 9's way of thinking and logic, but from another perspective, what she said was not completely unreasonable. Imagine if one day, there was a race that was countless times more powerful than humans. Would this race treat humans the same way humans treated livestock? This was a question worth pondering. Yi Xian shook his head, and then said, "Miss Number 9, why do you keep telling me this?" Number 9 said with a smile, "Because I think you are different from other humans, and I can try to save you." Yi Xian was a bit curious. "Why do you think I am different from other humans?" Number 9 said, "I just feel that there is no why." Yi Xian decided not to discuss this with Number 9 anymore, because he found that Number 9's four-dimensional logic was completely different from that of humans. In a short while, Yi Xian arrived at the Devouring Spirit clan with Number 9. As soon as he arrived, several powerful auras directly enveloped him. At this time, an old man appeared in front of Yi Xian, and he looked coldly at Yi Xian. He was about to speak when Number 9 suddenly slapped him with her palm. Bang! The old man was directly transformed into a pile of blood mist. His divine soul was destroyed. Yi Xian's eyelids twitched when he saw this. This woman really hates humans. At this moment, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. The middle-aged man stared at Number 9. "Your Excellency is..." Ninth suddenly punched out. Boom! The middle-aged man directly turned into nothingness, as if he had never appeared. Yi Xian was speechless. Boom! Right at this moment, a powerful aura suddenly swept out from within the radiant dimension, and its target was Yi Xian and Number 9. Number 9 looked at the powerful aura, but she didn't make a move. Yi Xian quietly retreated behind Number 9. He knew that the real experts of the Devouring Spirit clan had come out. When the powerful aura arrived above Jiao's head, the aura suddenly disappeared without a trace. It was as if it had never appeared in the first place. Meanwhile, a figure suddenly appeared in the clouds in the sky. Yuan Tian. The Grand Heavenly Master of the Devouring Spirit clan was also one of the top experts of the Devouring Spirit clan. However, it was obviously not his real body. It was just a projection. Yuan Tian looked at Number 9 below with a dignified expression. "Your Excellency, who are you?" Number 9 suddenly frowned, her eyes full of disgust. "You are a human. Your whole family is human." As she spoke, she clenched her fist towards the sky. The entire sky turned into a vortex, and Yuan Tian, who was in the middle of the vortex, had a drastic change in his expression. He gently pressed down with both hands, and the space around him directly distorted. At this moment, Number 9 suddenly punched out. Boom! In the sky, Yuan Tian flew out, and when he stopped, his projection disappeared without a trace. Number 9 shook her head. Weak. Qingsheng, Yi family, ancestral temple. Ancestors, Yi Xian has no talent and no virtue. From now on, Yi Xian's position as crown prince will be replaced by Yi Lang. The one who spoke was an old man in a black robe. Not far behind the old man stood a young man with a faint smile on his face. This person was Yi Lang. On both sides, there were the elders of the Yi residence. Why? Right at this moment, a slightly timid voice suddenly resounded within the ancestral hall. Everyone turned to look and saw a little girl standing at the door. She was about 12 or 13 years old, and her hands were tightly gripping the hem of her skirt. Her face had a sickly pallor, and she looked a little weak. There was even a trace of fear in her eyes. This girl was called Yi Ling, and she was Yi Xian's sister. When she heard that Yi Xian was to be replaced, she ignored her illness and rushed over. The black-robed old man frowned. "Yi Ling, what are you doing?" The little girl called Yi Ling bowed slightly to everyone, asking timidly, "Great Elder, my brother, Yi Xian, is the crown prince. Why did you cripple him for no reason?" The Great Elder eyed Yi Ling coldly. "This is a matter of the clan. What are you butting in for? Leave." Yi Ling was obviously afraid, not daring to look at the Great Elder, but she did not leave. Instead, she plucked up her courage and walked into the ancestral hall. Once again, she bowed to the elders. "Elders, my brother is fighting with the Li clan over the mining rights at Nanshan. He's fighting for the clan, and we don't know if he's dead or alive. Yet, the clan is using a groundless excuse to strip him of his position. This is unfair. Impudent. The great elder suddenly raged. Whether he's stripped or not, it's not up to a little girl like you to decide. Men, drag her away. At this time, the new crown prince, Yi Lang, suddenly laughed. He should be flogged 30 times as a warning. The great elder replied coldly, then flog him 30 times. Very quickly, 2 residence guards rushed in. Yi Ling clenched her fists and said angrily, "This is unfair. My brother has risked his life for the clan for so many years, and even now, he's fighting for the clan. This is unfair to him." One of the guards glanced at the new crown prince, Yi Lang. He knew that his chance to shine had come. The guard sneered, "Young Master Yi Lang inherits the crown prince's position, and it's everyone's wish. What are you yelling about?" As he spoke, he raised his hand and slapped Yi Ling's face. Slap. A crisp slap sounded, and the right side of Yi Ling's face instantly turned red and swollen. However, she didn't cry, and only held her cheek tightly. Yi Lang looked at the guard, and smiled. "What's your name?" The guard hurriedly bowed. "This subordinate, Jianghu, greets the crown prince." Yi Lang nodded. "You're not bad. After I become the crown prince, I'll need 10 personal guards. From now on, you'll be my personal guard." Hearing this, Jianghu was overjoyed, and hurriedly bowed deeply. "This subordinate is willing to go through fire and water for the crown prince, and I'm willing to die 1,000 deaths." Yi Lang nodded. "Drag him away. This person is causing trouble in the ancestral hall, do not hold back." Understood. Jianghu glanced at Yi Lang, and when he saw the killing intent in Yi Lang's eyes, he understood. He immediately grabbed Yi Ling's hair and dragged her out. At this time, Jianghu seemed to have seen something, and he suddenly stopped. Within the ancestral hall, everyone turned their heads to look outside. Not far from the ancestral hall, a young man was walking towards the ancestral hall. He was dressed in a tight-fitting robe that was tattered, and covered in blood. This person was Yi Xian, who had rushed back from the Nanshan. Seeing Yi Xian, Yi Lang's lips curled into a cold smile. Within the ancestral hall, all the elders were frowning. The great elder narrowed his eyes, and his face was dark. No one knew what he was thinking. From afar, when Yi Xian saw Jianghu dragging Yi Ling, his face turned savage. "Who gave you the guts to touch my sister?" When Jianghu saw Yi Xian, his face changed. He quickly looked at Yi Lang, and was about to speak, when Yi Xian suddenly leaped in front of him like a ferocious tiger. Before the latter could react, Yi Xian's fist landed on his face. Pung! Jianghu felt a wave of dizziness, and he stumbled and fell. However, Yi Ling did not stop, and he rushed towards Jianghu again. At this time, Yi Lang suddenly roared, "Yi Xian, he's my man, how dare you!" Yi Xian suddenly stepped on Jianghu's chest. Pooh! Jianghu spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Yi Lang's face turned ugly, while Yi Xian lifted his head to look at him, asking savagely, "Your man?" As he spoke, he stomped down on Jianghu's face. Jianghu's face turned into a bloody mess, as he screamed, "Prince, save me!" Yi Xian did not care about Jianghu, as he walked to Yi Ling's side. Seeing Yi Ling's state, Yi Xian felt as though his heart was being sliced by a knife. He clenched his fists, and his entire body trembled. When Yi Ling saw Yi Xian, tears welled up in her eyes. "Brother, it hurts, it hurts." Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression turned savage. In the next instant, he charged in front of Jianghu and kicked Jianghu's head. Pung! Qingcheng, Yi Clan, Ancestral Hall. Ancestors, Yi Xian has no talent, no virtue. From now on, Yi Xian's position as prince shall be replaced by Yi Lang. The one who spoke was an old man in black robes. Not far behind the old man, there was a youth with a faint smile on his face. This person was Yi Lang. On both sides, there were the elders of the Yi clan. Why? Right at this moment, a slightly timid voice suddenly resounded within the ancestral hall. Everyone turned to look and saw a little girl standing at the door. She was about 12 or 13 years old, and her hands were tightly gripping the hem of her skirt. Her face had a sickly pallor, and she looked a little weak. There was even a trace of fear in her eyes. This girl was called Yiling, and she was Yi Xian's younger sister. When she heard that Yi Xian was to be replaced, she disregarded her illness and rushed over. The black-robed old man frowned. "Yiling, what are you doing?" The girl called Yiling bowed to everyone in the hall, as she asked timidly, "Great Elder, my brother, Yi Xian, is the prince. Why did you cripple him for no reason?" The Great Elder looked at Yiling coldly. "This is a matter of the clan. What are you interrupting for? Leave." Yiling was clearly a little fearful. She did not dare to look the Great Elder in the eye, but she did not leave. Instead, she mustered up her courage and walked into the ancestral hall. She bowed to the elders on both sides of the hall and said, "Elders, my brother is currently fighting with the Li family for the mining rights of the mine in Nanshan. He is now fighting for the family, and it is unknown whether he is alive or dead. However, the family has used a groundless excuse to remove his position as the crown prince. Impudent." The Great Elder suddenly raged. "Whether he's crippled or not, it's not up to a little girl like you to decide. Men, drag her away." At this time, the new prince, Yi Lang, suddenly laughed. "He should be flogged 30 times as a warning to others." The Great Elder replied coldly, "Then flog him 30 times. Very quickly, Yi clan's guards rushed in. Yi Ling clenched her fists, and said angrily, "This is unfair. My brother has risked his life for the clan for so many years, and even now, he's fighting for the clan. The clan is unfair to him." One of the guards glanced at the new prince, Yi Lang. He knew that this was his chance to shine. The guard sneered, "Young Master Yi Lang inherits the title of prince. What are you shouting about?" As he spoke, he raised his hand and slapped Yi Ling's face. Slap. A crisp slap sounded, and the right side of Yi Ling's face instantly turned red and swollen. However, she did not cry, and only held her cheek tightly. Yi Lang looked at the guard, and smiled. "What's your name?" The guard quickly bowed. "This subordinate, Jianghu, greets the prince." Yi Lang nodded. "You're not bad. After I become the prince, I'll need 10 guards. From now on, you'll be my guard." Hearing this, Jianghu was overjoyed, and quickly bowed deeply. "This subordinate will go through fire and water for the prince, and I'll do anything for you." Yi Lang nodded. "Drag him away. This person is causing trouble in the ancestral hall. Don't hold back, understand?" Jianghu glanced at Yi Lang, and when he saw the murderous intent in Yi Lang's eyes, he understood. He immediately grabbed Yi Ling's hair and dragged her out. At this moment, Jianghu saw something, and suddenly stopped. Inside the ancestral hall, everyone turned their heads to look outside the hall. Not far from the ancestral hall, a young man was walking towards the ancestral hall. The young man wore a tight-fitting robe that was tattered, and there was blood everywhere. The young man was Yi Xian, who had rushed back from Nanshan. Seeing Yi Xian, Yi Lang's mouth curled into a cold smile. In the ancestral hall, the elders frowned. The Great Elder squinted his eyes, and his face was dark. No one knew what he was thinking. From afar, when Yi Xian saw Jianghu dragging Yi Ling, his face turned savage. "Who gave you the guts to touch my sister?" When Jianghu saw Yi Xian, his face changed. He quickly looked at Yi Lang, and was about to speak. At this time, Yi Xian leaped in front of him like a ferocious tiger. Before the latter could react, Yi Xian's fist landed on his face. Pang! Jianghu felt dizzy, and he stumbled and fell. Yi Lang did not stop there, and rushed towards Jianghu again. At this time, Yi Lang suddenly roared, "Yi Xian, he's my man, how dare you!" Yi Xian suddenly stepped on Jianghu's chest. Pooh! Jianghu spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Yi Lang's face turned ugly, while Yi Xian lifted his head to look at him, asking savagely, "Your man?" As he spoke, he stomped on Jiangmu's face. Jiangmu's face turned into a bloody mess, as he screamed, "Prince, save me." Yi Xian did not care about Jiangmu, as he walked to Yiling's side. Seeing Yiling's state, Yi Xian felt as though his heart was being sliced by a knife. He clenched his fists, and his entire body trembled. When Yiling saw Yi Xian, her tears flowed. "Brother, it hurts, it hurts." Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression turned savage. In the next instant, he charged in front of Jiangmu, and kicked Jiangmu's head. Pung! Chapter 934. What's going on? His mind went blank. Wasn't this woman fine a moment ago? Why did she suddenly lie down? Charge! Yi Xian suddenly thought of Jiao's words. She asked him to charge her. But the problem was, how? With lightning? Yi Xian hesitated for a moment and then rummaged through his prison tower. Soon, he found a lightning talisman and crushed it. A bolt of lightning fell on Jiao. Boom! Jiao was directly submerged by the lightning. However, it was useless. Jiao was still lying there quietly. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian's face darkened. This was not normal. The devouring spirit clan was also looking at Yi Xian. They were a little confused. What the hell was going on? At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly picked up Jiao and looked coldly at the devouring spirit clan and other experts. Devouring spirit clan, today is the day you die. He did not choose to escape. If he did, these people would definitely attack him. He chose to do the opposite. At this moment, Yuan Tian, who was in soul form, suddenly said, "Yi Xian, who is she?" Yi Xian looked at Yuan Tian and sneered, "Guess." Yuan Tian stared at Yi Xian and did not speak. Yi Xian suddenly grasped Jiao's hand and said, "Senior, kill them all." His voice was so loud that all the experts of the devouring spirit clan could hear him clearly. Hearing Yi Xian's words, the faces of the devouring spirit clan experts became extremely ugly. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly frowned and pointed at Yuan Tian. "You are so despicable. How dare you attack Fu Wenzong? Just wait and see." After saying that, he disappeared into the sky with Jiao in his arms. Everyone was stunned. No one wanted to chase after him. Because Jiao's strength was too terrifying. Although they felt something was wrong, they still did not dare to chase after Yi Xian. Even Yuan Tian's body was destroyed by her punch. What kind of terrifying strength was this? Meanwhile, Yuan Tian spoke abruptly, "Notify everyone to investigate that woman. I want to know everything about her." At this moment, his expression was incomparably gloomy. This woman who had appeared out of nowhere was far too terrifying. If this woman continued to help Yi Xian, the devouring spirit clan would have no chance at all. But the problem was, who was this woman? There were actually people more powerful than the 6 great masters in this world? Judging from her attack just now, this woman's strength was definitely above the 6 great experts. There was such an expert in the 5th dimension? Yuan Tian's mind was full of questions. In the distant sky, Yi Xian suddenly stopped. After confirming that there were no experts of the devouring spirit clan following him, he took out 9th. Looking at number 9, Yi Xian fell into deep thought. What was wrong with this woman? He was fine just a moment ago. At this time, Lian Xian appeared beside Yi Xian. The prison pagoda had returned to normal. Lian Xian looked at number 9, who no longer had any aura, and frowned slightly. Strange. Yi Xian looked at number 9 and said, "Miss Lian Xian, do you know what's going on?" Lian Xian shook her head, "I don't know." Yi Xian was silent. At this time, Lian Xian suddenly said, "Try to awaken her soul." Soul. Yi Xian suddenly woke up. He quickly took out the soul-subduing sword. "Little soul, connect with her soul." Little soul trembled. After a moment, little soul said in disbelief, "Young master, Yi Xian asked, "What's wrong?" Little Soul said, She has no soul. No soul. Yi Xian was stunned, and then said in astonishment, "How could she not have a soul?" Little Soul said, "She has no soul." No soul. Yi Xian's face sank. This woman didn't have a soul. What's going on? At this time, Lian Xian looked at Yi Xian. "What's wrong?" Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "Little Soul said she has no soul." Hearing this, Lian Xian frowned slightly. "No soul? How is that possible?" Yi Xian said in a deep voice, "This ninth girl is too mysterious." Lian Xian said, "She hates humans and has no soul. Moreover, there is no Xian qi fluctuation in her body. That is to say, she doesn't rely on Xian qi. Her cultivation method is different from ours." Yi Xian seemed to have thought of something. He said right away, "She told me to charge her battery." Does she mean she is out of battery? No power? Lian Xian looked at number 9, "Charge her?" Yi Xian spread his hands, "I don't know." It was a pity this time. If there was no problem with this ninth girl, they should be able to destroy the devouring spirit clan today. He had to find a way to charge this ninth girl. Lian Xian said, "Can you try with lightning?" Yi Xian nodded, "Yes. But it's useless." The two studied for a while but still couldn't find a result. Now number 9 seemed to be dead. Not only did she have no soul, but she also didn't breathe. It was very strange. But Yi Xian knew that she was not dead. What a joke. How could such an expert die without a sound? Electricity. She should be out of power. He had to charge her. But the problem was, how could he charge her? He had no clue at all. At this time, Lian Xian said, "Give her to me. I will study her." Yi Xian thought for a while and then nodded, "Okay." Lian Xian said again, "Your sword is about to break through." Yi Xian looked at soul-suppressing sword. Little Soul giggled, "Young master, can you protect me?" Yi Xian said with a smile, "Of course." Soul-suppressing sword said, "I need to absorb a lot of spiritual energy, so I can't go back to the prison pagoda." Yi Xian said, "Then let's go back to Fu Wenzong." He didn't dare to let soul-suppressing sword break through here. If it attracted the devouring spirit clan's experts, then things would be troublesome. Soon, Yi Xian returned to Fu Wenzong with soul-suppressing sword. Yi Xian came to the back mountain of Fu Wenzong. On the mountain peak, Yi Xian stood quietly. In front of him, soul-suppressing sword began to tremble. From all around, countless spiritual energy began to gather towards him. Yi Xian looked at soul-suppressing sword with some excitement. Soul-suppressing sword was already very strong. If it went one step further, how strong would it be? He didn't know. But he knew that the level would definitely not be weaker than Yiling's Azura Thorn. Just like that, the soul-suppressing sword absorbed all the spiritual energy in the surrounding area after around 2 hours. At that moment, the soul-suppressing sword began to tremble violently. Strands of powerful soul aura constantly vibrated out from the soul-suppressing sword. Soul. Yi Xian looked at soul-suppressing sword and waited quietly. Just like this, about an hour later, soul-suppressing sword suddenly let out a sword cry. A powerful soul force soared into the sky, straight into the clouds. At this moment, the entire Fu Wenzong was shocked. Because the souls of countless experts in Fu Wenzong suddenly resonated at this moment. Even Yi Xian felt a little uncomfortable in his soul at this moment. Soul-suppressing sword could already affect people's souls. At this time, soul-suppressing sword suddenly soared into the sky, straight into the clouds. Above the clouds, soul-suppressing sword turned into a black sword light, constantly shuttling back and forth. Below, Yi Xian smiled slightly. He could feel soul-suppressing sword's joy. Soul-suppressing sword and executing heaven sword had accompanied him all the way until now. He also had very deep feelings for these two swords. In the past, he felt that swords were used to kill people. Of course, he still felt the same way now. But at this moment, he felt that swords weren't just tools. They were also his, Yi Xian's, friends. Swords were alive. At this moment, as if sensing Yi Xian's mood, soul-suppressing swords suddenly flew in front of Yi Xian and said excitedly, "Young lord, I've advanced." Yi Xian withdrew his thoughts and said with a smile, "What realm are you at now?" Little soul said, "I don't know." Yi Xian looked at Lian Xian beside him. "Miss Lian Xian, what realm is little soul at now?" Lian Xian was silent for a moment, then said, "It should be the same level as Yiling's Azura Thorn, which is Tendo rank. Apart from the tiny pagoda, be it the heaven measuring ruler, the heaven blade, or the Azura thrust, they are all at the heavenly Dao rank, and your soul-suppressing sword and executing heaven sword are also at the heavenly Dao rank." Yi Xian was a little curious and asked, "What about above Tendo rank?" Lian Xian said, "Below mortal rank." Yi Xian was a little puzzled, "Below mortal rank? What do you mean?" Lian Xian said softly, "In other words, it's far beyond Tendo rank, only submortal rank." As she said that, she looked at Xiao Tian. "It's the 3 swords at the top of your pagoda. Those 3 swords are true mortal rank, the highest known existence at present. Xiao Ta, in terms of rank, is only inferior to those 3 swords." Yi Xian said in a low voice, "Miss Lian Xian, I have a question. I feel that I can't use the plain-dressed woman's sword." He had held the plain-dressed woman's sword before, but he didn't feel good about it. That feeling, he didn't know how to describe it, it was just very uncomfortable. As for the power, he couldn't unleash the plain-dressed woman's sword at all. Lian Xian glanced at Yi Xian and said indifferently, "Why is a mortal sword strong?" "It's because it's strong because of the person. Of course, it doesn't mean that they aren't strong without their master. It's just that the most special thing about this sword is the person. And the reason why you can't unleash the power of the plain-dressed woman's sword is because your sword Dao attainment isn't enough. You don't have the strength of the plain-dressed woman, so that sword is inferior to your executing heaven's sword and soul-suppressing sword." As she said that, she paused and said, "Suitable. Do you understand what I mean?" Yi Xian nodded, "I understand." Lian Xian said again, "If one day you reach the same realm as the plain-dressed woman, your executing heaven's sword and soul-suppressing sword will also become mortal swords. At that time, I believe that even if you hold a wooden sword, it will be invincible in the world." As she said that, she looked at Yi Xian. "Strictly speaking, mortal swords are a kind of realm, not a grade." Yi Xian nodded slightly, "I understand." Lian Xian was about to speak, but at this moment, the space in front of Yi Xian suddenly trembled. After a moment, a trace of surprise flashed in Yi Xian's eyes. Lian Xian asked, "What's wrong?" Yi Xian said, "The Worldwide Academy sent news that Miss Wenxiu is about to break through." Speaking of this, he seemed to think of something, and his face immediately became solemn. "Miss Wenxiu's current strength is only second to the 6 experts. If she breaks through again, it means that the Devouring Spirit clan will absolutely not let her break through. She's in danger. P.S. I've ordered 2 exclusive peripheral gifts. Everyone can follow my WeChat public account to have a look. You can directly search the WeChat public account, Green Phoenix Peak. Everyone can also leave a message in the book reviews section about whose exclusive gift you want." Chapter 935. Zhang Wenxiu is in danger. This was Yi Xian's first thought, because he knew that if the Devouring Spirit clan knew that Zhang Wenxiu was about to break through, they would never let Zhang Wenxiu break through safely. Now that they already had Yiling, they would never allow another Zhang Wenxiu, who was comparable to the 6 great experts, to appear. Yi Xian turned around and was about to go to the Worldwide Academy, but at this moment, he seemed to have thought of something and suddenly stopped. Lian Xian asked, "What's wrong?" Yi Xian smiled but did not say anything. Lian Xian shook her head. This guy was definitely going to play some trick again. Devouring Spirit Clan. In an empty hall, there was only Yuan Tian. At this moment, he was still in soul form. At this moment, an old man suddenly appeared in the hall. The old man bowed slightly. I've investigated that mysterious woman. She first appeared in a secret realm with Yi Xian. As for the rest, I don't know. Yuan Tian asked, what secret realm? The old man said, Wu country found it. It was an ancient secret realm, and there was a sect called the Invincible Sect. I've investigated this sect, and it should be a sect from hundreds of thousands of years ago. This sect was invincible in the entire fifth dimension, but for some unknown reason, it disappeared overnight. Yuan Tian frowned slightly. This woman is from the Invincible Sect? The old man shook his head. I don't know. Yuan Tian was about to speak, but at this moment, he suddenly looked outside the hall, and there stood a young man. Seeing this person, Yuan Tian's eyes narrowed slightly, because he did not know when this young man had appeared. The old man was also on guard, as if he was facing a great enemy. At this time, Yuan Tian said, You are Ero Lien of the ancient race. No, you are not Ero Lien. The young man smiled. I am Ero Lien now, this is my new identity. Yuan Tian looked at the young man. Who are you? Smiling, Ero said, I'm from the Invincible Sect. I just wanted to tell you that the woman's name is number 9, and she's not someone you can fight. 9th? Yuan Tian frowned. People from your era? Ero nodded. She was from our era. However, we don't know who she really is. All we know is that she hates humans. She would kill anyone she sees. Yuan Tian said coldly, Is Yi Xian not human? Ero fell silent for a moment before he said, That's something that I've been unable to figure out. Yuan Tian looked at Ero and asked, Your invincible sect was destroyed by her? Ero nodded. Yes. How powerful is she? Yuan Tian asked in a deep voice. Ero looked at Yuan Tian and said, For now, I think she is invincible. Invincible. Yuan Tian narrowed his eyes. Are you kidding? Aluo laughed and said, Are you joking? Why, you haven't fought with her before? Yuan Tian said in a deep voice, I admit that she is strong, but she is not invincible, right? Ero shook his head and smiled. Do you know how powerful my invincible sect was? Yuan Tian said, Then do you know how powerful my devouring soul clan was? Ero laughed. I'm not talking about who is stronger, your devouring soul clan or my invincible sect. I want to tell you that no matter the devouring soul clan or the devouring soul clan at your peak, you can't stop her. You have fought with her, so you should know how powerful she is. Yuan Tian was silent for a moment before he said, You didn't come here just to tell me how powerful she is, did you? Ero looked at Yuan Tian and said, I came to tell you that if you want to kill her, now is the best time. Yuan Tian frowned slightly. What do you mean? Luo smiled and said, Although this woman is extremely powerful, she has a fatal flaw, and that is, every once in a while, she will fall into a deep slumber. I don't know why, but after a period of slumber, she will wake up again. When she was in your devouring soul clan, she must have fallen into a deep sleep. This is the best time to kill her. Otherwise, once Yi Xian wakes her up, you will be in despair. Yuan Tian said in a deep voice, Fall into a deep sleep. What do you mean? Ero shook his head. I don't know. I just want to tell you that now is the best time to kill her. Otherwise, once she is awakened by Yi Xian, with Yi Xian's character, he will definitely take her to your spirit-devouring clan again. At that time, your spirit-devouring clan will really be in despair. I'm afraid no one in this world can control her. Yuan Tian said softly, If there is one person, he should be able to control her. Ero asked, Who is it? Yuan Tian said, The Prophet. Ero frowned slightly. The Prophet? Is he very strong? Yuan Tian glanced at Ero and said lightly, This person's strength is rare in the world. Regarding the Prophet, the experts of the fifth dimension were actually full of awe. They didn't dare to be disrespectful and fearless. Because he was really strong. Arrow smiled. In every era, there will be one or two super experts. It is understandable. I came here today to cooperate with you. My goal is to kill that woman, and your goal is to kill Yi Xian. And now, Yi Xian is with that woman. So, our goal is the same, right? Yuan Tian said in a deep voice, you are the only one left in your invincible sect? Arrow smiled. Of course not. Yuan Tian nodded slightly. I understand. At this time, the old man suddenly said, that Zhang Wenxiu is about to break through. Break through. Hearing this, Yuan Tian's pupils shrank. He looked at the old man. Breaking through? The old man nodded and said in a deep voice, yes, the news should be good. The experts of Fu Wenzong have already rushed to the Worldwide Academy. Obviously, they want to protect Zhang Wenxiu. Yuan Tian frowned deeply. Why is this woman suddenly breaking through? The old man said, we can't let this woman break through. If we let her break through, her strength will not be below the 6 experts. At that time, we will be in more trouble. Yuan Tian nodded. Of course we can't let her break through. Now that the Worldwide Academy had a female teacher in Yiling, if Zhang Wenxiu broke through, what would it mean? It meant that the Worldwide Academy would have 3 super experts. At that time, it would be extremely difficult for the Devouring Spirit clan to get that study room. Yuan Tian looked at Arrow in front of him. Can you do it? Arrow smiled. Of course. Yuan Tian nodded. That's great. Get ready to go to the Worldwide Academy. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at the old man beside him. What's the attitude of the Wu Kingdom? The old man said in a deep voice, the Wu Kingdom did not refuse us, but they also did not agree to help us. It seems that they want to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Yuan Tian said indifferently, for now, don't worry about them. Let's deal with the Worldwide Academy and Fu Wenzong first. No matter what, we must not let Zhang Wenxiu break through this time. This time, we must not hold back. With that, he slowly closed his eyes. At this moment, he felt that things were getting more and more difficult. Compared to Zhang Wenxiu, he was more afraid of Yi Xian. This man was too mysterious. Why was that super expert called number 9 hanging out with Yi Xian? Below, Arrow had a faint smile on his face. No one knew what he was thinking. At the Worldwide Academy. At this moment, the Worldwide Academy could be said to be heavily guarded. Zhang Wenxiu was about to break through. If it was in the past, this would definitely be a great thing. But now, it was not a good thing. Because everyone knew that the Devouring Spirit clan would not let Zhang Wenxiu break through safely. Fortunately, Fu Wenzong's experts had come to help. As for Fu Wenzong, some of the experts from the Worldwide Academy had mixed feelings. When Chen Tian was the mansion master, Fu Wenzong and the Worldwide Academy had fought each other several times. But now, they had joined forces to fight against the enemy. As the saying goes, there are no eternal allies or eternal enemies. There are only eternal interests. In a room somewhere, Zhang Wenxiu sat cross-legged on the ground. Her blood was boiling and her aura was becoming stronger and stronger. In fact, she did not expect that she would break through. When she separated from Yi Xian, she found that the power of the bloodline in her body had suddenly become different. Was it because of dual cultivation? Zhang Wenxiu did not think too much about it. No matter what, this time's breakthrough was a rare opportunity for her. She had to grasp it. Because at her level, it could be said that it was as difficult as ascending to heaven if she wanted to go further. This was her opportunity, so she had to grasp it. However, she also knew that the Devouring Spirit clan would not let her break through easily. Therefore, she directly sent someone to inform Yi Xian and Fu Wenzong. In this way, time passed little by little. The aura around Zhang Wenxiu's body became stronger and stronger. This aura was so strong that it had overflowed outside the room. The entire Worldwide Academy could feel this aura. It could be said that the current Worldwide Academy had attracted the attention of all the experts in the fifth dimension. Everyone knew that Zhang Wenxiu was the strongest person after the 6 great experts. If she broke through again, it would mean that there would not only be 6 great experts in this world, but 7. At that time, the Worldwide Academy would have 2 super experts. Was the Worldwide Academy going to rise? Fu Wenzong's experts had also rushed to the Worldwide Academy. This time, it could be said that Fu Wenzong had sent all his elites. They were very clear about what Zhang Wenxiu's breakthrough meant. Now, Fu Wenzong and the Worldwide Academy were in the same boat. It could be said that they were bound together for good or bad. Therefore, this time, Fu Wenzong also wanted to ensure that Zhang Wenxiu could break through safely. However, Yi Xian did not come. In this way, about 2 hours later, Zhang Wenxiu's aura had become so strong that it had spread hundreds of thousands of miles away from Zhou Ben. This was not an exaggeration, because if Zhang Wenxiu broke through again, she would reach the cause and effect realm. With her current combat strength, if she reached the cause and effect realm, she would be the 7th great expert. At this time, an invisible pressure suddenly shrouded the entire Worldwide Academy. Below, everyone raised their heads to look. The Devouring Spirit clan had come. Chapter 936. Above the Worldwide Academy. The pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Although the experts of the Devouring Spirit clan did not appear, this pressure alone made countless experts in the academy pale. Suffocation. Under this pressure, everyone felt suffocated. At this moment, a dim light suddenly rose from the academy. Boom! The powerful pressure instantly disappeared without a trace. Yi Ling. In the air, Yi Ling looked into the distance, her face expressionless, the azura thorn quietly floating beside her. At this time, Yuan Tian appeared not far from Yi Ling. He was still in soul form. Beside Yuan Tian, there was a young man. It was Arrow Company, but at this moment, Arrow Company was not the previous Arrow Company. The soul in this body came from the invincible sect hundreds of thousands of years ago. Yuan Tian said, "Brother Arrow, can you restrain this woman?" After Arrow looked at Yi Ling, his eyes became dignified. Very strong. Yuan Tian smiled. One of the 6 experts of the 5th dimension. Do you think she is strong? Arrow said, I can only restrain her. Yuan Tian said, enough. Arrow nodded. His body trembled and directly rushed toward Yi Ling. In the distance, Yi Ling suddenly held the azura thorn and stabbed forward. Chi. The space in front of Yi Ling was as brittle as a piece of paper, directly torn apart. At this time, a fist shadow suddenly blasted on the azura thorn. Boom! The azura thorn trembled violently and was forced to stop. At the same time, several phantoms suddenly appeared around Yi Ling. These phantoms seemed to be practicing martial arts. Yi Ling frowned slightly. At this moment, a fist came from her left side. It was very slow, like a child's punch. Yi Ling held the azura thorn and stabbed it to the left. Boom! That fist retracted as if it had been electrocuted, but right at this moment, above her head, a fist carrying a burst of explosive air blasted towards her. Just like that, Yi Ling was drowned by countless fist shadows. On the other side, Yuan Tian glanced at Yi Ling's direction. He knew that Arrow wouldn't be able to delay Yi Ling for long. At this moment, an old man appeared in front of Yuan Tian. Are you going to make a move? Yuan Tian looked around. Why don't I see Yi Xian? The old man shook his head. I've already checked. We don't know where this person is. Hearing this, Yuan Tian furrowed his brows. Since Zhang Wenxiu broke through, it's impossible that Yi Xian didn't come. Since I haven't seen him yet, there must be a trap. The old man said in a deep voice, what does Empyrean mean? After a moment of silence, Yuan Tian said, "Tell second uncle not to make a move for the time being in case something unexpected happens." The old man nodded. "All right." After saying that, he quietly retreated. Yuan Tian looked around, but he didn't see Yi Xian. His heart was still a little uneasy, but at this time, he couldn't care so much. Today, no matter what, he couldn't let this Zhang Wenxiu break through. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult for the Devouring Spirit clan to get this universal library. Yuan Tian collected his thoughts and glanced below. At this moment, Fu Wenzong and the experts of the Worldwide Academy were all here, especially Fu Wenzong. Almost the entire sect was dispatched. This would be a tough battle. Yuan Tian collected his thoughts and whispered, "Sacrificial array." As soon as he finished speaking, the space behind him suddenly split open. In the next moment, a white vortex suddenly appeared behind him. Along with the appearance of the white vortex, the surrounding spiritual energy was disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Below, everyone was on high alert. Lin Xiaoshu's face was extremely ugly. He knew that the Devouring Spirit clan was going to make their move. Soon, in that white vortex, a giant white hand suddenly condensed. The moment this giant white hand appeared, the entire sky turned illusory. That power had exceeded the limit that this space could withstand. In the sky, Yuan Tian suddenly said, "Fall." As his voice fell, that giant white hand suddenly pressed down from the sky. The moment this giant white hand fell, the space began to be annihilated inch by inch. If this giant hand were to fall into the Worldwide Academy, the entire Worldwide Academy would definitely turn into ashes. Below, Lin Xiaoshu's face was extremely ugly. Currently, the biggest trump card of the Worldwide Academy was the killing array. If this array was used, it could instantly kill this Yuan Tian, but it would be meaningless. Just killing one Yuan Tian was meaningless. Moreover, once this array was used, the Worldwide Academy would have no trump card left. That would be the time when the Worldwide Academy would perish. To put it simply, it was not that they could not use this trump card. However, this trump card had to be of value. For example, killing the strongest expert of the Devouring Spirit clan. Moreover, the Worldwide Academy was not sure whether this Yuan Tian was the strongest expert. What if this Yuan Tian was just here to sell himself? Lin Xiaoshu collected his thoughts and looked at the faction leader of the Fu Wenzong, Shen Xinghe. "Thank you, Elder Shen." Shen Xinghe nodded slightly. He looked up at the giant white hand and roared, "Sacrifice array." 10,000 talismans sacrificed to the heavens. As soon as his voice fell, countless Fu Wenzong experts suddenly took action. One after another, purple talismans soared into the sky. These purple talismans rushed into the sky and began to converge. Soon, a giant talisman shield formed by talismans appeared in the sky above the Worldwide Academy. At this moment, that giant white hand fell and directly hit the talisman shield. Rumble. A deafening explosion suddenly resounded in this expanse of the heavens and the earth. The talisman shield trembled violently before it cracked apart, whereas, the enormous white hand had become illusory at this moment. At this moment, that giant white hand suddenly exploded. Rumble. A powerful force suddenly swept across the horizon. In the blink of an eye, the talisman shield had disappeared without a trace. Powerful energy ripples continuously rippled out in all directions, causing the entire horizon to turn into a mess. Below, Shen Xinghe glanced at where Yiling was. At this moment, Yiling had suppressed arrow, but he was unable to kill him. The two of them were restraining each other. "I can't rely on Yiling." Shen Xinghe raised his head and looked at Yuan Tian. Behind Yuan Tian, the white vortex still existed and had not disappeared. In the sky, Yuan Tian was expressionless. He looked down at Fu Wenzong and the experts of the Worldwide Academy. "Kill." As soon as his voice fell, boom. The white vortex suddenly exploded with an explosive sound. Soon, countless blood-red dots suddenly flew out from the claws of the white vortex. When these countless blood-red dots appeared, the spiritual energy in the surroundings immediately dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this scene, Shenxingha's expression changed greatly. Spirit devouring. Sacrificial array, don't let these red dots fall. Spirit devouring. Simply put, it was a type of ancient evil array that could devour the spiritual energy of any living creature. If these red dots were to fall, apart from a few people, the rest would basically die. As soon as Shenxingha's voice fell, Shenxingha suddenly opened his palm. In the next moment, a 7-colored talisman with 7 colors shot into the sky. Behind this 7-colored talisman were countless perfect orange talismans. Perfect orange talismans. It could be said that these were Fu Wenzong's assets. Because a perfect orange talisman, even in Fu Wenzong, was very precious. The reason why he took out so many assets this time was that Yi Xian had instructed him to stop the spirit-devouring clan at all costs to ensure that Zhang Wenxiu could safely pass the tribulation. And Shenxingha also understood that if Zhang Wenxiu broke through, it would also be of great benefit to Fu Wenzong. He had to protect it. As the 7-colored talisman shot into the sky, the talismans behind it suddenly burned. In an instant, the entire sky above the worldwide academy turned into a sea of fire. The blood-red dots were blocked by this sea of fire. In this sea of fire, the blood-red dots began to disappear bit by bit. However, the talismans were also slowly disappearing. It could be said that this was equivalent to burning money. Seeing this scene, Lin Xiaoshu immediately breathed a sigh of relief. He looked down at the courtyard where Zhang Wenxiu was. There was a trace of worry in his eyes because he did not know how long it would take for Zhang Wenxiu to break through. In the sky, Yuan Tian looked around with a trace of worry in his eyes. Because until now, he had not found Yi Xian's whereabouts. Where is Yi Xian? He knew that Yi Xian would not sit back and do nothing. Now that he had not appeared, there must be a conspiracy. Yuan Tian turned his head and looked. Do you know Yi Xian's whereabouts? Next to him, an old man shook his head. Not yet. After a moment of silence, Yuan Tian looked at Yi Ling and Arrow Company. At this moment, Arrow Company was firmly suppressed. He knew that Arrow Company would not be able to hold on for much longer. Thinking of this, he decided to ignore Yi Xian and look down at the Worldwide Academy. Kill. As soon as he finished speaking, the white vortex behind him suddenly started revolving. In next to no time, a strand of pure white flames suddenly floated out from within the white vortex. As soon as the flames appeared, the temperature in the surroundings instantly rose explosively. At the same time, this expanse of space started to be obliterated inch by inch. The surrounding space could not withstand this flame at all. Below, everyone's faces changed. Lin Xiaoshu's face also turned pale at this moment. This was once the number 1 flame in the 5th dimension, the heavenly spiritual flame. Heavenly spiritual flame. The number 1 spiritual flame in the 5th dimension and one of the 2 supreme treasures of the devouring soul clan. Just this heavenly spiritual flame alone was already very terrifying. At this moment, the devouring soul clan also used an array to support this spiritual flame. One could imagine how terrifying this spiritual flame was. At this time, Yi Ling's face also changed. She looked at the spiritual flame with a solemn look in her eyes. Just as she was about to charge over, Alorian pestered her tightly, not allowing her to leave at all. Yi Ling looked down and said, "Be careful of this flame." After saying that, she looked at Alorian, and her expression turned savage as she directly charged over. Below, the Worldwide Academy, Fu Wenzong, and other experts looked extremely dignified at this moment. That flame was too powerful. In the air, Yuan Tian looked down at the Worldwide Academy. He was about to speak, but at this moment, the old man beside him suddenly said, "Not good, Yi Xian Company went to our Devouring Soul Clan." Devouring Soul Clan. Hearing this, Yuan Tian's face suddenly changed. P.S. Today's update is late, please be safe. Chapter 937. The Devouring Spirit Clan. Yuan Tian didn't expect that Yi Xian would go to the Devouring Spirit Clan. What does he want to do? At this time, the old man next to Yuan Tian said, "There are people in the clan. He can't do anything. Our top priority is to stop Zhang Wenxiu." Zhang Wenxiu. Yuan Tian looked down. As the old man said, the top priority of the Devouring Spirit Clan was to stop Zhang Wenxiu from breaking through. However, he was really worried about Yi Xian. The old man said, "Great Sovereign, don't worry about this person. He is alone. He can't do anything in the Devouring Spirit Clan." Yuan Tian nodded slightly and looked down. At this moment, Zhang Wenxiu's aura was getting stronger and stronger. It was so strong that it made people's hearts palpitate. Obviously, Zhang Wenxiu was about to break through. He couldn't let Zhang Wenxiu break through. Yuan Tian was about to speak when Shen Xinghe suddenly said, "Kill." As his voice fell, a seven-colored talisman suddenly soared into the sky. This talisman's target was the heavenly spiritual fire. However, as soon as it got close to the heavenly spiritual fire, it became illusory. Seeing this, Shen Xinghe's face sank. The power of the heavenly spiritual fire was far beyond his imagination. In the sky, Yuan Tian was expressionless as he looked down. "Kill." The heavenly spiritual fire suddenly floated down. At this moment, the seven-colored talisman turned into ashes, and behind it, there was nothing. This space couldn't withstand the power of the heavenly spiritual fire. Below, Shen Xinghe's face was a bit ugly. The power of the heavenly spiritual fire was beyond his expectation. At this time, Shen Xinghe opened his palm and a mirror appeared in it. Myriad-dimensional mirror. This was given to him by Yi Xian before he came. With the appearance of this mirror, the space in the sky was suddenly cut apart. However, the heavenly spiritual flame was not damaged in the slightest, and the myriad-dimensional mirror became illusory at this moment. Even the myriad-dimensional mirror couldn't withstand the power of the heavenly spirit flame. When he saw this, Shen Xinghe's expression turned extremely ugly. The heavenly spirit flame was actually this powerful. Lin Xiaoshu's face darkened. This time, the Devouring Spirit Clan was determined to stop Zhang Wenxiu's breakthrough at all costs. Lin Xiaoshu looked at Yi Ling. At this moment, not only was the Azura restraining Yi Ling, there was also a mysterious expert. A total of 2 people were restraining Yi Ling. Right now, Yi Ling couldn't leave at all. Lin Xiaoshu looked at Shen Xinghe. "Where's Yi Xian?" Shen Xinghe said in a low voice, "He went to the Devouring Spirit Clan." Lin Xiaoshu frowned slightly. What's the use of him going to the Devouring Spirit Clan now? Doesn't he know what's going on? Hearing this, Shen Xinghe was a little displeased. "Hierarch Lin, watch your words. Little Grand Master must have a reason for doing this." Lin Xiaoshu said in a low voice, "What reason? Can he destroy the Devouring Spirit Clan alone? The most important thing now is to ensure Wenxiu's breakthrough, but he went to the Devouring Spirit Clan. What's he thinking?" Shen Xinghe was about to speak, but the heavenly spiritual fire suddenly floated down from the sky. Seeing this, everyone's expression changed greatly. If this heavenly spiritual fire fell, the entire worldwide academy would be reduced to ashes in an instant. At this moment, Yi Ling suddenly threw the Azura sting in her hand, and the Azura sting directly stabbed the heavenly spiritual fire. Boom! A wave of fire suddenly broke out from the sky. In an instant, the sky above the worldwide academy was directly turned into a sea of darkness. Black. Seeing this, Yuan Tian took a deep look at Yi Ling, who was pinned down by 2 people in the distance. He had to admit that Yi Ling was really strong. He had to end this quickly. Because he found that even 2 people in arrow couldn't pin down Yi Ling, Yuan Tian looked at the heavenly spiritual fire that was blocked by the Azura sting. "Kill." As soon as his voice fell, a powerful spiritual chi suddenly gushed out from the white vortex behind him. This spiritual chi directly poured into the heavenly spiritual fire. The heavenly spiritual fire trembled violently, and a powerful flame burst out from it. The Azura sting was directly shaken away. The heavenly spiritual fire fell straight down. Yuan Tian looked at Lin Xiaoshu. He knew that the Worldwide Academy had an invincible array. At this moment, he hoped that Lin Xiaoshu would use this array. Because in this way, the Devouring Spirit clan would no longer have any scruples. Below, Lin Xiaoshu's face was extremely ugly. He knew that at this moment, Fu Wenzong had no other means. He could only look at the Worldwide Academy. And the only thing in the Worldwide Academy that could resist the heavenly spiritual fire was the human-slaying array. Should he go out of the array? Lin Xiaoshu was not a pedantic person. If he really had no other choice, he would not keep the array. If everyone was gone, what was the use of the array? At this moment, it was the last resort. Because as the heavenly spiritual fire fell, the entire Worldwide Academy gradually became illusory. This was to completely destroy the Worldwide Academy. Lin Xiaoshu's face turned grim. He was about to order the array to be used. But at this moment, in the sky, an old man suddenly appeared in front of Yuan Tian. He trembled and said, "Great Senior, something happened in the clan." Yuan Tian turned to look at the old man. "What do you mean?" The old man said in a trembling voice, "Yi Xian led the Shura Iron Cavalry and Shura Death Guards into the clan. They are madly slaughtering our experts." Yuan Tian said angrily, "What about the Origin Spirit Realm?" The old man's voice became more and more shaky. "They are all dead." Yuan Tian roared, "How is this possible? How could Yi Xian kill them both? Was it number 9 who did it?" The old man shook his head. "No. Yi Xian found a large group of experts from somewhere. There are more than 10 Heaven's Secret Realm experts. Together with the Shura Iron Cavalry and Shura Death Guards, they attacked us by surprise." Yuan Tian looked at the Worldwide Academy with an extremely ugly expression. The reason why Yi Xian succeeded was because some of the top experts of the Devouring Spirit clan had come to the Worldwide Academy. These people did not show up because they were all on guard. On guard against the headmaster. On guard against the other headmasters of the Worldwide Academy. Yuan Tian had been on guard against the headmaster and the other grandmasters who did not show up. Because of this, he had to send most of the experts of the Devouring Spirit clan. In other words, the Devouring Spirit clan had very few experts. Next to Yuan Tian, the old man said in a deep voice, "Grand Heavenly Master, are we going back?" Yuan Tian said angrily, "Go back now? What for? If we go back now, we will suffer a double loss." Then he looked down and pressed his right hand down. The holy spiritual fire suddenly fell from the sky. In an instant, countless buildings in the Worldwide Academy began to burn. Yuan Tian stared down. "Kill! Everyone, attack!" As soon as he finished speaking, more than 20 experts suddenly rushed out from the white vortex behind him. All of them were peak Heaven's Secret Realm experts. Seeing this, Lin Xiaoshu's expression changed drastically. He roared angrily, "Sacrifice!" Before he finished speaking, he was stunned. Because the holy spiritual fire had suddenly stopped. In front of the holy spiritual fire, there was a white jade ruler. Heaven measuring ruler. Everyone was stunned. Below, Lin Xiaoshu was stunned for a moment. Then, he was overjoyed. Not only Lin Xiaoshu, but also countless disciples of the Worldwide Academy were overjoyed. Headmaster. In the sky, Yuan Tian turned around to look down. A woman was riding a donkey on the nearby mountain path, and she was holding an ancient book in her left hand. However, she wasn't reading it at this moment, and she was sizing up the surroundings instead. In the air, Yuan Tian looked at the headmaster. His eyes were filled with undisguised fear. The headmaster's reputation in the 5th dimension was really too great. Because she was known as the last disciple of the prophet, the person closest to the prophet. Below, the headmaster looked around. Her eyes were filled with emotions, as if she was recalling the past. Soon, she entered the academy on her donkey. The experts and students of the Worldwide Academy immediately bowed to her. "Greetings, headmaster." At this moment, all the experts of the Worldwide Academy were trembling. They were agitated, excited. Even Lin Xiaoshu bowed respectfully. "Headmaster." The headmaster looked at Lin Xiaoshu and smiled. "Xiaoshu, you have aged a lot." Lin Xiaoshu said softly, "Headmaster, you are still as elegant as ever." The woman smiled and looked around. Finally, her gaze fell on Zhang Wenxiu. "Is Wenxiu about to break through?" Lin Xiaoshu nodded. "Yes." The woman nodded. It seems like she had some fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, with her state of mind, she would need some time to settle. As she said this, she looked around again. Many people are no longer here. Lin Xiaoshu said in a low voice, "Headmaster Lu has fallen. We have contacted Headmaster Chen, Headmaster Zhang, and Headmaster Su. They seem to have something to do and cannot rush back." The headmaster nodded slightly. She looked up at Yuan Tian, who was in the sky. At this moment, Yuan Tian was also looking at her. The moment he saw the headmaster, although he had already expected this, when he saw the legendary headmaster, he was still a little afraid. The headmaster looked at Yuan Tian. "Devouring Spirit Clan." Yuan Tian said calmly, "Yes." The headmaster shook her head. "Back then, teacher let you go. Isn't it good to live well?" Yuan Tian sneered. "Drag out an ignoble existence?" The headmaster said, "Teacher should not have been merciful back then." As she said this, she waved her lily-white hand. The heaven measuring ruler suddenly chopped down on the heavenly spiritual fire. Boom! The heavenly spiritual fire was directly chopped away. However, at this moment, the white vortex behind Yuan Tian suddenly spun rapidly. Countless spiritual energy gushed out and finally flowed into the heavenly spiritual fire. Boom! The heavenly spiritual fire suddenly burst into a bright flame. This flame swept down from the sky and spread toward the headmaster below. Below, the female teacher was expressionless. She opened her palm, and the measuring heaven ruler suddenly flew back into her hand. The next moment, she soared into the sky. Under everyone's gaze, she gently swept the measuring heaven ruler in her hand. Boom! In an instant, the flame disappeared without a trace. Seeing this, Yuan Tian's face suddenly became extremely ugly. At this time, the aura in the courtyard where Zhang Wenxiu was located was getting stronger. A breakthrough was imminent. At this moment, the old man next to Yuan Tian said in a trembling voice, "Yi Xian is wildly robbing our devouring spirit clan." Chapter 938. Robbery? Yuan Tian turned to look at the old man. "Is he robbing?" The old man nodded. "This person is robbing our devouring spirit clan. If we don't go back." Yuan Tian looked down. Below, the female teacher smiled slightly. She suddenly stretched her right hand to the right, and the measuring heaven ruler flew out. A few hundred zhang away, Arrow, who was besieging Yi Ling with a mysterious expert, suddenly turned his head and blocked with his arms. Boom! Arrow was sent flying. Without Arrow's restraint, Yi Ling suddenly disappeared. The mysterious expert not far in front of her turned pale and frantically retreated. However, his speed was not as fast as Yi Ling. Before he could retreat a few zhang, Yi Xian pierced through his forehead. Qi! The mysterious expert's divine soul was instantly destroyed. Arrow retreated behind Yuan Tian. At this moment, his expression was incomparably solemn. Although it had been hundreds of thousands of years, the people of this world were stronger than he had imagined. Yuan Tian looked at Yi Ling and the female teacher, and then said, "Let's go." After saying that, he turned and left. At this moment, Yi Ling suddenly disappeared. Yuan Tian did not look back. Just as Yiling was about to rush behind Yuan Tian, a skinny old man suddenly appeared in front of Yiling. The skinny old man looked at Yiling and pointed his finger. Yiling did not retreat. Instead, he thrust the Azura thorn forward. The skinny old man did not dodge. He used his finger to block Yiling's Azura thorn. Boom! As soon as the two touched, the whole world shook violently. Yiling returned to his original position. But the skinny old man did not retreat even half a step. The skinny old man glanced at Yiling. He is stronger than the previous kings of your Azura clan. After saying that, he turned and left. Yiling was about to attack again when the female teacher suddenly said, "Empress." Yiling looked at the female teacher, who said softly, "This person is called Yuan Zhan, a half-step rebirth realm expert. Even if you and I join hands, we will not be able to stop him." Yiling said indifferently, "You can't stop him?" The female teacher nodded, "No." Then, she looked up at the end of the sky, because there are still two people. "Sir, you were merciful and did not kill them. Now, they have become a disaster." Yiling ignored the female teacher and turned to look at Shen Xinghe. "Did you inform my brother?" Zhan Xinghe nodded, "I have." Shen Xinghe. "Little master has left." Yiling said and turned to leave. At this moment, the female teacher suddenly said, "Empress, please wait." "Zhan," the female teacher Yiling said. "Zhan, yi master." "ZT." Yiling thought for a while and said, "I will go and pick up my brother." After saying that, she turned and disappeared into the horizon. The female teacher looked at Shen Xinghe. "Zhan Xinghe, you have a brother?" Shen Xinghe smiled, "He is my little master, Fu Wenzong." A look of astonishment flashed across the Empress's eyes. "Little Grandmaster?" Shen Xinghe nodded, "Yes." Then, he looked around and said, "Teacher, now that the Devouring Spirit clan has retreated, we will take our leave." The female teacher nodded, "Thank you, Fu Wenzong, for your help. The Academy will remember this kindness." Shen Xinghe smiled, "Teacher, you are too polite. Now, I, Fu Wenzong and the Academy are allies. When the Academy is in trouble, Fu Wenzong should help." The female teacher smiled and opened her palm. An ancient book appeared in her hand. She pointed at it and the book flew to Shen Xinghe. "This is what master left behind. It should be useful to you, Fu Wenzong." Shen Xinghe opened it and glanced at it. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically. After a moment, he bowed deeply to the female teacher. "Thank you, teacher." The female teacher smiled, "I will visit Fu Wenzong another day." Shen Xinghe said, "Fu Wenzong will be waiting for you." "Teacher, we have something to do, so we will take our leave. Goodbye." After saying that, he turned and left with Fu Wenzong and the other experts. After Fu Wenzong and the other experts left, the female teacher turned to look at the courtyard where Zhang Wenxiu was and whispered, "Is he going to break through?" Boom! At this moment, the courtyard where Zhang Wenxiu was in exploded, and a powerful aura swept across the sky. When Yuan Tian and the others returned to the Devouring Spirit clan, the entire clan was in a mess. Yuan Tian was expressionless. He returned to his hall, where two corpses were lying. They were the corpses of Primordial Spirit and Primordial Realm. Both had been killed with a single sword strike. Yuan Tian said, "Did Yi Xian do it?" The old man behind him nodded, "Yes." Yuan Tian said softly, "He is getting stronger every day." Yuan Tian said in a low voice, "We have to be careful of his sword. That sword specializes in targeting souls. Half of the credit for killing the two of them is due to that sword." Yuan Tian looked behind him. "Second uncle, can you kill this person?" This second uncle was Yuan Zhan, a super expert from the Prophet's era. Yuan Zhan said, "If the Shura Empress protects him with her life, I can't kill him." Yuan Tian asked, "What if you include third uncle?" Yuan Zhan asked, "Yuan Qing?" Yuan Tian nodded, "Can I?" Yuan Zhan said, "Do you think he is a big threat?" Yuan Tian said softly, at first, I didn't think much of him. But now, I realize that he is much more monstrous than we thought. If he continues to grow like this, it will be detrimental to our clan. Yuan Zhan shook his head, it will be difficult to kill this person now. Because those two from the Worldwide Academy will not let us kill him. And our real goal is not Yi Xian, but that study room. That study room is very important to our clan, so we must obtain it. Yuan Tian said, the key is with Yi Xian. Yuan Zhan was silent. Yuan Tian suddenly said, Second uncle, I'm not crazy. Think about it, from the beginning until now, Yi Xian's growth is terrifying. If we continue to let him be, I'm afraid that we won't be able to kill him in the end. Yuan Zhan was silent for a moment, then nodded, this person is indeed a disaster. Yuan Tian was about to speak, but Yuan Zhan said, have you thought about the current situation of our devouring spirit clan? Yuan Tian said, what do you mean, second uncle? Yuan Zhan said softly, with the appearance of that teacher and Zhang Wenxiu's breakthrough, there are no forces in the five-dimensional universe that will ally with us. They will sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, waiting for us and the Worldwide Academy to suffer. Yuan Tian was silent. Yuan Zhan looked at Yuan Tian, we must kill Yi Xian, but we must obtain that study room. Only by obtaining that study room can we completely change the fate of our devouring spirit clan. Yuan Tian nodded, I understand. As he spoke, he looked at Arrow, who was not far away, Your Excellency, how many experts of your invincible sect are still alive? Arrow was silent. Yuan Tian said, Your Excellency, you must understand that although your target is number 9 and Yi Xian are obviously on the same side. You have seen the relationship between Yi Xian, Fu Wenzong, and the Worldwide Academy. Therefore, we must join forces, otherwise, no one will have a chance. Arrow was silent for a moment, then smiled slightly, you are right. However, I still want to remind you that once Yi Xian wakes up number 9, we will all be as vulnerable as chickens and dogs. Number 9. Thinking of that woman, Yuan Tian's expression unconsciously became solemn. He was really afraid of that woman. That woman's strength might be above the 6 great experts. It could be said that even Yuan Zhan might not be her match. At this time, Arrow said, I agree with what Yuan Tian said. Between that study room and Yi Xian, we should kill Yi Xian first. After killing Yi Xian, you can not only obtain the key to open the study room, but also get rid of Yi Xian. Otherwise, even if you obtain that study room, as long as Yi Xian and number 9 are not dead, they may be able to turn the tables. Don't tell me about the glory of your devouring spirit clan. That woman's real strength will make you despair. As he spoke, he looked at Yuan Zhan, this Yi Xian must die. Moreover, now is the best time for you to kill Yi Xian. Yuan Zhan suddenly said, what is the background of that woman called number 9? Yuan Zhan shook his head. I don't know. I only know that she suddenly appeared in our era. As for where she came from, no one knows. Her identity is also a mystery. No one knows. Yuan Zhan frowned slightly. No one knows? Arrow nodded. She is too mysterious. As for why she sealed herself in our invincible sect, this is something we don't know either. But it might have something to do with a predestined fate. Yuan Tian looked at Arrow. Predestined fate? What predestined fate? Arrow shook his head. Nothing. I just want to say that our top priority now is to get rid of this Yi Xian and get rid of this disaster. Our invincible sect's goal is to kill number 9, who is behind Yi Xian, and your goal is to kill Yi Xian. As for the next attack on the Worldwide Academy, the invincible sect will not accompany you. As he spoke, his expression turned cold. This time, the invincible sect had already lost a powerhouse, and this powerhouse's loss was completely worthless. From Aurelian's point of view, this was a losing deal. Yuan Tian glanced at Arrow, then turned to Yuan Zhan. Second uncle, should we kill Yi Xian first? Yuan Zhan nodded. Sure. But we need to plan. We can't fight the Shura Empress, teacher matriarch, and Zhang Wenxiu. Otherwise, even if we win, it will only benefit the others. Yuan Tian nodded. I have a plan. Yuan Zhan looked at Yuan Tian. Tell me. Yuan Tian said in a low voice, as far as I know, Yi Xian has established a force in the fourth dimension called the North Alliance. There are many of his friends in the North Alliance. We can attack from there and force him to return to the fourth dimension. He has no choice but to return. He paused, then continued, however, as far as we know, this person also has a backer in the fourth dimension. It seems to be a female swordsman. At this time, Eros suddenly said, It's all right. Leave this person to me. I'll go kill him. P.S. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to go back and inherit the family fortune. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.